There we go. That should work. Hello, guys. It's been a while. Damn. It always feels like a month. But how are you doing? How's everything going, right? Everything good? Hello, Thomas, Oire, Jahira, and Isaac. Isaac. Always have a struggle pronouncing your names, but hello. How have you been, guys? I've been pretty good. I had a trip to Miami. That was pretty dope. Although that was over quite quickly. So I had to return home, do work stuff, and I think I found the perfect opportunity to stream again, you know? Kraut uploading what looks like a very interesting video. I don't know. But being good, guys. Everything has been pretty awesome. Kind of awesome. So what's up with you? It's Kraut time. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I love that. Should we even start right now? Should we wait for like a little bit? Honestly, I have nothing planned. I know that there's a Kraut video. I know that there are a real life lore has also uploaded like a few videos, and Whaitifalthist probably has keep uploading videos. You know, he keeps going insane a little bit. So, and other than that, I don't know, man. Maybe we can play some Geoguessr. This is gonna be more of a free spirit live stream. I don't know. But hey, we are 4 people right now. If you guys don't mind, we can start. The video is actually quite short, which is interesting because Kraut, like his videos tend to be longer. So I don't know what's up with that. You know, if you watch more, like this one, for example, the Mexican American one, it's like an hour long, right? One of his last ones, 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Well, this one is short, but so I don't know. Maybe this video is not really like planned. Like normally my boy is streaming only when Kraut drops a video. I know, right? That has been the case, which I'm pretty sad. I know I haven't streamed a lot, and you know, I wish I could do it more, but honestly, sometimes it's just hard with work and life stuff. It's complicated. You have when this is not your job, it's really hard to edit videos or just do stuff generally. Next video is gonna be longer. He said, "Oh, nice." He said he made 3 short vids because he had a 3-month break. Oh, okay, gotcha. So in a community post of him, I think I saw that too. If you had time in DM, you could react Kings and Generals video on the Anglo-Saxons and Celts. Yeah, sure, brother. We can definitely do that. Okay, so we are 8 people. That's nice. How's my beautiful face doing? Okay, I think it's good. The lighting is a little bit off. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is this. Chan, 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 chan. Why Saudi Arabia is doomed. I mean, I think that's a pretty fair statement, right? Like Saudi Arabia is just one of the strangest countries in the world. When you talk about countries that probably shouldn't have existed, probably Saudi Arabia comes to mind. You know, it's literally just a piece of desert, but it's an oil-rich piece of desert. So that's pretty much the only reason why it exists. I mean, really, it serves no purpose other than that. And of course, big American ally, right? Saudi Arabia, despite being a very autocratic country, you know, Saudi Arabia, it's not necessarily known for its democracy, right? So again, very strange country. Never been to Saudi Arabia. My mom has been to multiple Arab countries. So, and again, Saudi Arabia is probably the most extreme of them all. Hi there, looking forward to this great video on the Congo Kingdom. I'm not entirely sure what you mean, man, but sure. I think I'd reacted to one of those in the past. Oh, you're right. You're right. Got it. Yeah, I left a last stream. I left a bunch of videos, which is great because I have nothing planned other than this video. So you guys will tell me, what do you want? What do we watch together? All right, so I think we are ready. 7 people.
This video is sponsored
Let's test the audio. I think the audio is good. And so let's go. Okay, Saudi Arabia. It's doomed.
The app or website for anyone who
wants sponsor time.
Recently, and the news source is something that just won through Ukraine. Not only do I get it based on independent monitoring organizations. What's interesting about this story is
that's actually not a bad service, you know.
It will therefore be interesting to see how people in Russia supported by their subscribers. Go to ground.news/Kraut to try it for free or subscribe for unlimited access.
History does not repeat. It instructs. Oh,
In
shit.
1483,
Oh.
the Portuguese explorer Diogo landed at the mouth of the Congo River and claimed the lands around it for Portugal. He then sailed up the River Congo and realized there was a problem with his claim. These lands were already inhabited by a people living within a structured and well-functioning state. A kingdom with a capital called Mbanza that already had a population of 60,000 and was therefore just as large as Lisbon. This was the first contact between Europeans and the king.
I watched this one. Bro, that hurts my feelings, man. That's rough. I wanted to watch this together, man.
The Congo Kingdom. Diogo sent 4 of his crew to be...
Oh, you're right. Oh, shit. You see, streaming is actually harder than you would normally think. Thank you, my man. Thanks for telling me, because I actually didn't realize. Okay, there we go. That shit. What? What the hell? Oh, you gotta be kidding. Okay, there we go. Boom. Nice. There we go. Thank you, my man, Oired, for telling me that. I didn't realize it.
To the king of the Congo, and took 4 Congolese with him back to Portugal to serve as the Congo king's ambassadors to the king of Portugal. A year later, and 590 miles to the north of the Congo estuary, another Portuguese, Alvaro Camina, built a Portuguese settlement on the island of São Tomé, just off the coast of the Gold Coast.
São Tomé and
São
Príncipe,
Tomé had
that's
no
like a
native
country,
peoples.
right?
The first use of the island was as a sort of prison colony for people expelled from Portugal for being deemed as undesirable, like Portuguese Jews. Being a volcanic island, the soils were fertile and conducive for the growth and harvesting of cash crops, primarily sugar. And it is here where the history of the Congo and the history of Portugal cross paths to change the world with 2 innovations. The Portuguese invented the plantation on São Tomé, vast networks of cash crops run by a central processing structure to maximize output through the use of monocultures and the abuse of forced labor. But there was a problem. The first forced laborers were expelled Jewish children, who died, and at one point Portugal ran out of Jews and others it considered...
Be patient, watch till the end. Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is about the Congo, which is interesting, but this video is about Saudi Arabia. But I think it's probably going to get a point across.
Undesirable to be forced onto São Tomé plantations. So they started sailing the coast of West Africa, kidnapping Africans from coastal villages and forcing those to work. And it was there where the Kingdom of Congo contributed its own innovation. It went on war raids deep into Africa, kidnapped men, women and children and sold them to the Portuguese. This is where the transatlantic slave trade was born, before it actually became transatlantic. The model of running sugar plantations.
I mean, for us, the people that are living in the Americas, this changed our history. This made most of our countries possible, because in most in colonial societies in the Americas, slaves really built a lot of the infrastructure. So, pretty interesting bit of the origins of the Portuguese slave trade.
With African slaves.
Again, don't know what it has to do with Saudi Arabia, but all right, I'll take it.
Copied it in their South American colonies, where the Spaniards copied them, and eventually everyone copied the Spaniards. The Portuguese may have had to share the slave plantation economy and concept with others, but there's one thing they retained control of: the slave trade. Well, not entirely on their own. The Congolese king converted to Catholic Christianity, but his relationship with the Portuguese was a little strenuous. He refused to abandon polygamy as the Portuguese missionaries demanded, and also refused to change the political structure of the Congo, which was a kingdom in which an aristocracy...
Talking about polygamy, right?
...aristocrats into a...
Hey, yeah, talking about polygamy. Did you know that most Saudi kings have like 20 plus kids because they have multiple wives? I actually didn't know. Now we know. Explains the situation of Saudi Arabia through another example. How do you feel about Saudi Arabia collapsing since you're going to work in a Gulf country? Well, I just hope it doesn't affect the United Arab Emirates, although probably will. I don't know. There are parallels with Saudi Arabia explored at the end. Okay, gotcha.
Hereditary monarchy.
I mean, now I could see them, because a lot of the Gulf countries do have slave labor or slave-like labor, So...
When the king died, one of his sons seized the throne through the help of his mother and the civil war. He converted the kingdom to Catholicism. However, he continued to clash with the Portuguese over the slave trade, which he believed should be entirely controlled by the Congo kingdom, and was angered by Portuguese slave raids in his kingdom. He wanted a slave trade monopoly. 2 kings later, by the 1550s, the Congo kingdom became an absolute hereditary monarchy and formulated a military alliance and economic alliance with the Portuguese. The Congo kings would conduct raids in Africa to capture Africans, transport them to the coast, and sell them to the Portuguese slave traders.
I think I could see more and more of the similarities on Saudi Arabia
kingdom in its slave raids, but not go on raids to kidnap Africans themselves. This was the beginning of one of the most lucrative trade agreements in human history. For almost 2 more centuries, the Portuguese and Congo kings would continue to hold almost a complete monopoly on the transatlantic slave trade. The Spaniards, the Dutch, the French, and the British may all run slave plantations, but it was the Portuguese who shipped the slaves and from who you had to buy. And the Portuguese in turn bought most of their slaves from the Congo kingdom. The plantation economy of the New World became the foundation upon which the first globalized economy was built, and the fuel burnt to keep it running were African human beings. The wealth the Congo kings amassed through their steel was legendary. They lived in palaces surrounded by ivory, the silver of South America, the gold of Mexico, the silks of China, the craftworks of Arabia, and spices of India. Their ambassadors were guests of honor throughout the many kingdoms of Europe. And you can still see their portraits in national galleries in Portugal to this day. But you can only see their portraits in Portugal and some in Brazil. So where are the Congo kings now? The Congo kings were part of the first modern economy.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know, there are a lot of videos that talk about where are the royal families of certain countries. I think of the Habsburgs or the Hohenzollerns, but maybe there's still some sort of dynasty from the Congo kingdom, right? Who knows?
Because of the part they played, they never modernized themselves. The Portuguese introduced the Congo kings to technologies such as navigation, the wheel, the plow.
Bro's got your gold. I know, right?
Kings never adopted these technologies. Assholes. There was simply no reason to do so. The entire economy was built around kidnapping and selling Africans into slavery. There was no need to plow fields and conduct investments in agriculture. No need to build ships.
Okay. I see it more and more and more, Yeah, I think I see a lot of the similarities between Saudi Arabia and the Congo kingdom.
No reason to build carts that exported goods on land, and no reason to print books. There was, however, an imported European technology which the Congo kings did adopt.
Did you guys saw that city that Saudi Arabia is planning on building? It's like a vertical or a horizontal line of a city, right? Supposed to be very modern, but it's a very strange concept. I don't know.
And used to its fullest effect.
Oh, the guns.
The gun. Equipped with these guns and learning to make them and use them, the slave raids became even more efficient at kidnapping Africans to sell into slavery, but also to violently subdue competition and assert control over the slave economy, thereby increasingly destabilizing the region.
The line, for some reason, I get adverts for here in Germany.
The institution of slavery in its entirety.
I know, there's a lot of ads for that thing.
Manipulated markets to increase their output, holding back on selling slaves during the Caribbean harvest season to artificially hike up the prices and then sell more at greater profit. But through the economy being entirely built around slavery also began to deeply impact society and...
That's what happens when you have a bunch of money,
Political structures. The Congo kingdom was an absolute monarchy with an aristocracy that acted as the governors of the regions. By the 1560s, the monarchy also became hereditary.
Fellow German.
The laws of the kingdom.
Yeah, I have a couple Germans in the chat. That's nice.
The king wanted them to be. Taxation was therefore completely arbitrary. New taxes were enforced whenever the king wanted to take something from someone or for other weird reasons. There was a tax that had to be paid for every time the king's hat fell from his head. This arbitrary nature of governance
is Saudi Arabia like that?
Further investment or innovation in economic sectors outside of slavery. Why invest in plows and build on agriculture when the king can just take away whatever you built on a whim? Those who displeasured the king found themselves
The king is
dispossessed
cringe.
and sold into slavery with their entire families. Through slavery, an authoritarian state became even more authoritarian, and society became more reclusive. Ironically, as state power centralized within the figure of the king, society decentralized. Aristocrats and peoples moved away from the cities, moved as far away from roads as possible to be as far away as possible from the slave trade as to not fall victims themselves to it, or to its arbitrary and violent nature, or victims to the arbitrarily enacted absolute power of those who controlled it. West Africa,
I mean, I don't want to... Okay, well, no, yeah, let's continue. I was going to
segments.
spoil.
And while the
little bit
remaining
something,
participants in the global economy that slavery fueled managed to modernize and innovate through the development of other sectors, the Congo Kingdom, the very source of that fuel, stagnated and decayed. When slavery was abolished by the Congo Kingdom's customers, the Congo state collapsed. Various little aristocratic statelets emerged in a continuous, violent struggle with each other.
And again, you
over
can
what
clearly
was
see the
left.
link between the
practice
Saudis
of
and...
raiding your neighbors, kidnapping their people, and stealing their wealth continued, only this time within the kingdom itself. Banditry basically became its main source of income. Although the kingdom continued to exist in name up into the 20th century, it was by the 1800s little more than a selection of constantly feuding warlords who, when French colonial officers arrived, had no means to put up a unified resistance against colonization. The last of the Congo kings was made a powerless vassal of the Portuguese, while the rest of his lands were carved up between the French and Belgians. When the Congolese rebelled in 1914, the Portuguese crushed the rebellion and made the lands part of the Angola colony. Amplified by colonial rule, the disarray and decay which slavery wrought upon these lands still ravage it to this day. The Congo is a place unable to centralize.
I mean, talk about like the early 20th century and the brutal history of the Congo. Like King Leopold and all his horrible policies about the Congo. That's fucked up. And then you had like the Congo Civil War, one of the deadliest wars in recent human history. I think it's one of the deadliest after World War II. And now the Congo is like one of the poorest places in the world. So, you know, you can trace all of that back to the stupid decisions of the Congo Kingdom. And I guess now, soon, he's going to make a connection between Saudi Arabia and the Congo. Then the Saudis took over. They kicked out the Hashemite royal who ruled Hejaz for like 800 years. The Hashemite royal family are now kings of Jordan. Oh, nice. Channel Adam something. Probably will make a video about it. It'll be really funny. His new Egyptian capital and Dubai videos are really good. Adam something. Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. Why not? Let's finish this and...
Able to unite, unable to remove foreign dominion and exploitation of its resources and peoples, and compounded by legacies of colonialism, continues to be ravaged by civil wars, exploitation, anarchy, and poverty. Nothing remains of the legendary wealth of the Congo kings.
And then there's the Saudis.
On the 14th of February 1945, the USS Quincy sailed into the Suez Canal. On board was the US President Roosevelt. Dying with only weeks left to live, he had still come personally to conduct a meeting that he believed was essential to the future of the United States and the development of a global economy that could stand up to the Soviets after the Second World War. He met with King Abdulaziz ibn Saud on the ship, and the two men struck a deal. The Saudis would provide access to their oil fields to sell oil to the United States and its European and Asian allies. In exchange, the United States would provide military aid and secure the defense of Saudi Arabia against all its enemies. The hydrocarbons of Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar would be the fuel burnt to build the global economy of the 20th century. The kings of Arabia would gain almost fantastical wealth through this trade. They lived in palaces surrounded by all the luxuries of the modern age. But none of them have innovated or created any economic sectors outside of hydrocarbons.
That's...
Their palaces are built by foreigners, their luxuries are made by foreigners and imported by foreigners. Their enormous wealth is used to bribe the poorer neighbors into submission and thereby stagnate political development throughout the entire region. They control the hydrocarbon market ruthlessly, manipulating prices to ensure their own wealth, but also to crush outside competition.
I just have to say, I just really have to comment that the art in this video is flawless. It's just so good. I mean, I don't think there's any creator, and maybe I could be wrong, but someone who creates such beautiful art like this, on like countryable art, it's just, I don't know of any. Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf states will see increased profits due to Russia, but the EU seems like it's going to speed up green energy faster to avoid dependence on autocracies after this war. True. And if they increase their production of green energies, that means long-term losses for the Gulf countries.
There's nothing being manufactured or any technologies being adopted and further invested upon or innovated upon. The only innovation they were all quick and happy to embrace were the weapons the Americans provided, which they used to bully all those who displeased them into line, and destabilize the region through the arming and financing of various death squads. Their political systems are absolute, authoritarian, archaic and stagnant, and the enormous wealth they gained only made those systems more absolute,
they made it worse,
authoritarian, archaic and stagnant. The laws they enforce are arbitrary. Civil liberties are an alien concept, and whatever wealth you build can be taken from you at any given moment if a king should wish it. Consequently, whatever substantial investments are made by citizens are almost entirely bunkered abroad. Those who displeasure the king are banished, disappear into
I mean, yeah, I get what he's saying, obviously, but could you say that all Arabian countries are the same? Because, you know, Dubai seems like, I mean, of course, Dubai and the United Arab Emirates are not the same thing. One is a city, the other is a country, but it seems pretty well diversified. I don't know. I mean, when you're talking about Saudi Arabia, sure, I get that.
Dungeons were outright murdered. Civil society has consequently retreated into private homes under a social contract that guarantees that they will be left alone as long as they do so. A public civil society or public space does consequently not exist. Civil society is therefore fractured and decentralized, with a deep distrust of everyone, while the state remains all-powerful and centralized as long as it continues to run on the money made through hydrocarbons. If they keep running on hydrocarbons, the future of Saudi Arabia and the Arab Gulf states is to be the next Congo.
Damn. What the hell? Oh, wait. What if Mexico joined the Central... What the hell? Alright, I'm not gonna watch this right now, but... But fuck, it seems like a really interesting video. Anyways, shit. Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, obviously, I sort of agree. I mean, I mostly agree, to be honest, right? Like, come on. I think it's very true. I think it's more true for some countries than others. You know, like I said, I think the United Arab Emirates is like probably the one that's doing the best effort to diversify its economy, right? I mean, Dubai and the Dubai airport are huge, right? And the tourism industry there, it's pretty big. Of course, there's a lot of investment, a lot of banking. But who knows? Probably, I mean, oil obviously plays still a huge role on it. But Monsieur C, bro. Yeah, I know, right? I hate that guy, but... I like this video, you know? What if Mexico joined the Central Powers? Of course, I'm Mexican. Of course, I'm gonna watch this shit. But hey, let's do a little bit of research, right? UAE economy breakdown. Do we have like a good source? There we go. Well, so oil and natural gas only play 17%. I mean, that's huge. Of course, it's their biggest industry. But then you got a wholesale retail trade, repairs of motor vehicles and motorcycles. That's 13%. Oh, shit. Can't see. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the economy of the United Arab Emirates. We've got oil and natural gas. It's still the biggest industry at 17%, but 70%, that's a little lower than I expected, to be honest. Financials and insurance activities, that's 10%. Manufacturing, 10%. Construction, that's huge in the UAE, 10%. And then you got like more things, transport, real estate, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Exactly, 17%, it's a lot lower than I thought. Let's look Saudi Arabia, though. This has to be like, I don't know, like a lot. When I have Statista. All right, let's do economy.com. I mean, there has to be like at least 30, right? Fuck. God damn it, man. Okay, there we go. Oil. And that's the fucking thing about Saudi Arabia. You can't get the numbers, bro. This is actually pretty weird. Like you can't get the numbers. Unfortunately, he died, so his channel is dead, but he used to be the biggest history contributor on YouTube. Wow. That ended up being pretty dark. Oh, there we go. 45%. You guys can see that. Mining and quarrying. Is that necessarily oil? I think so, right? 45%. Holy shit. Well, I don't know. It's probably like it's probably like a lot, right? 17% may be low, but that also contributes to the other parts of the economy. You have to service the people who extract the oil via housing and food, so losing jobs in 17%. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I think that 17% impacts a huge sector of the economy. But could you say that the UAE is going to collapse because of the oil? Especially in the future, right? That's not going to happen in like at least, I don't know, what, 10, 20, 30 years? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the UAE does, though. Okay, so Adams something, that's like the channel. Okay, so this is Egypt, new capital. Oh, wow. Dubai is a parody of the 21st century. Dubai is a joke. Wow. Should we watch that? Dubai is a joke. His videos are still cool to watch. Wikipedia says the petroleum sector accounts for roughly 87% of the Saudi budget revenue. Holy fuck. 42% of GDP. Jesus Christ. 90% of export earnings. Well, of course, that makes a lot of sense, dude. Like, what else is gonna Saudi Arabia export? Camel milk? Like, that makes sense. However, damn, that's fucked up, dude. 90%. So, okay, I really want to watch this. Dubai is a joke. I think I know why, but I want to see his reasoning, right?
When we hear the word Dubai, most of us picture towering skyscrapers, immense wealth, police with Lamborghinis, 7-star hotels with the absolute cream
What
of
color is your
society
Bugatti,
inside them.
dude?
Also the Palm Islands, the World Islands, the Burj Khalifa, the Burj Al Arab, futuristic symbols of incredible wealth. And so in light of all that, I'm here to make the case that Dubai, the Emirates, and the Gulf countries in general are one of the worst places on the planet. Now this is a rather bold claim, I realize, but it's one that I can
I don't think it's that bold.
fully. So let's take a look at what's really behind the glitz and glamour, the true face of Dubai and the Gulf countries. To better understand what's going on in a place like Dubai, first let's talk about
I mean,
Romania.
sure, it's fucked up, but I mean, look at this. I mean, it's kind of cool, isn't it? It looks pretty good. I mean, I know it's fucked up and it's built by literal slaves, but...
and the Gulf countries. To better understand what's going on in a place like Dubai, first let's talk about Romania.
Romania? What?
In the decades following World War II, Bucharest, the capital, came to face the same problem as many Eastern
Imagine
European
cars and
capitals
stuff.
did at the
Oh.
time. As urbanization increased and huge residential areas
Relatable.
were built out, the need arose for new, high-capacity public transportation. And so Nicolae Ceausescu, the dictator of Romania back in the day, gave out the order to construct a metro line. And so the engineers created a line proposal and presented it to him. And then Ceausescu was like, "No, I will design the route personally." And so the former
Oh,
shoemaker
boy.
assistant, who also called himself the genius of the Carpathians, I am not making this up, sat down and redesigned the entire metro line to have it run along the river underneath. Yes, along. But Nicolae Ceausescu's wife, Elena Ceausescu, a former textile factory worker, also got her fair share of planning. Reportedly, when the planners presented the final version of the metro line to the Ceausescu couple, Elena Ceausescu reportedly asked why the metro would stop inside the inner city at Piața Romana, inquiring what kind of factories there are. The planners told her there aren't any factories, but there is the Bucharest University of Economics where there are lots of students. Hearing that, Elena Ceausescu reportedly said, "Students? They've gotten fat, they grew a belly, they should walk. No station at Romana, let them walk." And so, since
No way, no fucking way, dude. That's insane. They are fat and therefore they don't. Wow. Communist dictators, they're always the best, though. They're always the funniest.
Ceausescu added nothing to that, and nobody else dared to oppose his wife.
Let
the
them
station
walk.
was
Holy
extra on the
fuck.
plans. But of course, everyone outside of the dictator power couple knew that this was fucking stupid. And so the engineers, having enough foresight, decided to build the station in secret, banking on the fact that they would need to build a station
Oh,
there anyway
shit,
due
that's
to future
risky.
public pressure. And they were correct. The end result was this ridiculous and dangerously narrow station, since the engineers couldn't build a normal station hall, since they had to disguise their little secret project as regular tunnel boring. And so the moral of the
Wait,
story
what?
is smooth
For real? Do we have anyone from Romania? No, well, I don't think so. But damn, that sucks, bro. Look at this. I mean, I've used the metro before, the one in Mexico City, and I can't imagine. Look at the fucking holes. It's just so tiny, dude. That's what she said. I know. The Romanians shot this couple. What? No way, dude. You're fucking lying. The Romanians shot this couple, and for good reason. Oh shit! It's like Mussolini and how the Italians kind of killed him, isn't it? I think Romania was the only Eastern Bloc country with a violent revolution. A college teacher of mine was from Romania. He was a soldier in the Romanian army when they got rid of the dictators. He said when the protest started, he put down his weapons and joined the protesters. That's nice, though. That's badass.
disguise their little secret project as regular tunnel boring. And so the moral of the story is, smooth brain dictator plus construction equals dumb shit. And boy, what a perfect segue this is to the video's
Okay,
actual
yeah,
subject,
I get that.
Dubai. The city of Dubai is a fucking joke. It's a tasteless parody of everything wrong with modern humanity. And so why do I say that?
I mean, is it tasteless? Yeah, it is. Is it dumb? Probably it's dumb. Yeah,
Let's go
it's
through it,
probably
shall we?
dumb. The monument to idiocy. Oh god.
Now, in my video about skyscrapers, I have already talked about the Burj Khalifa. It's a big dumb tower of glass and steel stuck in the middle of the desert, serving no other purpose than a petrodollar fuel.
And do you guys know which country is building a taller building than the Burj Khalifa? Saudi Arabia. I know, baby. That's a great segue to whatever this is.
Contest. And the building even has its
It
own
is a dick
poem
measuring
about
contest,
itself.
yeah.
Like seriously, how pretentious can you get?
I am the life force of collective aspirations and the aesthetic union of many cultures. I simulate dreams, stir emotions, and
What the hell is that noise? Oh no, it's the poop trucks. Yeah, did you know that the Burj Khalifa isn't connected to its sewage system? So every single day a huge line of poop trucks have to queue up next to the building and suck out all the poop. So Ammar's ambition and Dubai's shining dream included the world's tallest skyscraper,
Well,
but
okay,
not a
yeah,
sewer
that's-
system. And besides, I talked about this before in the skyscrapers video, there's actually not much point to building a skyscraper. Like the only situation where it might make sense is when you're physically out of space. But trust me, Dubai does not have this problem, which ties into the next suspects.
Soon to be Atlantis. Oh god.
Dubai's Palm Islands are the
It is kind of a dick measuring contest, though. Are you going to Dubai to become a poop trucker? I mean, hey, if they pay me to buy money, sure, I'll do anything, dude. I, for one, can't stand modern buildings. Skyscrapers are monstrous. Bring back 19th century buildings. They have much more character to them. They do have more character. They look a lot more classy. And it changes, English architecture, German architecture. You can actually tell the difference with modern buildings. You can't really tell when a building is from a certain country or culture. Egypt also wants to build the tallest building in their new capital. Oh, God.
The OG symbols of the city. The construction of the first one,
Yikes.
the Palm Jumeirah, started in 2001, if you can believe that. And according to Google's satellite images, it's still not finished. It's still getting built out. And just for good measure, let's take a look at what they actually built here. I mean, these things do look nice from space, but what are they really, from up close and personal? Well, the stem is an 8-lane urban freeway, and the leaves are just individual suburban streets. Oh, and there's also a monorail in the middle. Oh, and between the
Beach
Point
homes.
and Nakheel Mall, there are no stations. So then, how do people living on the leaves get on this thing? Well, it's a rhetorical question, of course. Just like the real suburbs in America, this thing was built around cars. And the second palm, the Jebel Ali, will be more the same. And then there are the world islands, of course, which are just a complex of...
Okay, yeah, that
islands
one's
for
pretty
those
fucking
rich in
dumb,
their
yeah.
villas. And, oh my god, this looks outright post-apocalyptic, Jesus Christ. Oh, and there's a third palm under construction if the two weren't enough. Oh, and by the way, the sand they use for the palms is not desert sand. They can't use it because the grains are too big. Instead, they have to get the sand from the seafloor. And they achieve this by sucking it up with these big tanker ships. And also annihilating acres of marine life in the process. Oh, and by the way, these palm islands were built on top of natural coral reefs, which they just ended up basically burying. Oh, and according to NASA measurements, all these islands are sinking at a rate of 5 millimeters per year. And by the way, have you heard about this thing called the rising sea levels?
5 millimeters per year. That's a fucking... That's a lot, That's a lot when you consider that you're on an island. If I had like millions of dollars, I probably wouldn't be buying a fucking stupid ass island. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. So many entries and exits on the main Palm Road. The traffic would be horrendous. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
According to the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, under the most severe climate change scenario, nearly all of Dubai, including the Palm Islands, would be underwater. Alright, so let me get this straight.
Well,
you had all the money and power in the world to create anything, and you have paid money to annihilate a coral reef to build a sinking suburb on top of it. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. And here's the kicker about these islands. That's right, I'm still not done. Why build them on the sea to begin with? I mean, you have the desert. You have all the space you will ever need. So why not just build the palms inverted into the land? Having the actual body of the palm not out of sand but out of water. It would look just as impressive from space, and it wouldn't even demolish all the aquatic life. Hang on a second, they did do something like this already, just below the palm tree. And, oh no, these are American-style suburbs? Oh man. I can't believe it. They took the worst urbanism practices from the US and they implemented it one-to-one. And we actually...
What's wrong with American-style urbanism? Sorry, American-style suburbs. I like them. They are nice to drive. Well, okay, well, maybe that. They are like car-based. I don't know. In England, local government want to demolish England's oldest pub. It's been around for nearly 1,000 years. They want to build an apartment building on it. Thankfully, they failed. Oh man,
they have all the
world we're living in.
Hell in here. Copy-paste housing, cul-de-sacs, giant highways cutting through the area, no public transportation, a 12-lane arterial road. Jesus Christ. And so this will be our segue to...
12-lane. Desert Futurama. It is Desert Futurama, though. That's a nice name.
In general is just complete bonkers. It's kind of its own little bubble, really. A strange little rich people's dystopia in the desert. Take a look at this arrangement. 2 sections of skyscrapers separated by a 20-something lane freeway, and behind it a bunch of cul-de-sac suburbs and golf courses. It's this strange mixture between Futurama and evil Los Angeles. And this just makes me feel so frustrated, because all that money and all that power, they could have done so much more and so much better than this. The way I understand...
Okay, gotcha. American suburbs require a lot more infrastructure per person because it's so far apart. Roads, pipes, electricity, etc. Okay, no, you're right. That makes a lot of sense.
The main motive behind building all this flashy stuff was to try and increase tourism, to help the Emirates economy transition away from oil revenues.
Oh, okay. Well, it says right there 28%. Well, 28% plus 15%. I mean, we just saw that it decreased Didn't.
Which is, you know, fair enough. But then why not build something truly unique? Something that isn't just a big dumb tower of glass and steel, or a couple dozen suburban streets on sinking sandbanks, or gigantic malls or golf courses. Imagine a city with full-on historic Arabic Golden Age architecture with modern elements. Okay, this is concept art from Diablo 3, but you get the idea. I have seen skyscrapers, malls, suburbs, urban freeways, or golf courses before. What I haven't seen is a historical or at least historicist Arab city. That would be a great way of spending all those petrodollars, or at least a better way, I would say. And that might even attract a more quality crowd instead of the oligarchs, trust fund babies and novo-rich idiots. Okay, that's a bit unfair, but Dubai right now is not exactly a haven of intellectualism, so to speak. By the way, did you know that only 10% of the Emirates population is actually Emirati?
I did.
The other 90% being immigrants and expats. Well, actually, they're all immigrants. It's just that white people came up with this word expat, so they don't have to call themselves immigrants abroad because that word is reserved for brown people. Speaking of which,
There we go. This is the rough part.
and this right here is my biggest problem with
They should build Baghdad prior to the Mongol siege. That'd be a sight to see. I know, right? I mean, historically, Baghdad has been a really, I don't know if I would say beautiful, but important city in the Middle East and the world. The expat thing is dumb. Yeah, it is dumb. Like, I really don't give a fuck about it.
Dubai, the Emirates, and the Gulf states in general. All that luxury, wealth, and opulence you see all around you in Dubai.
Yeah, this is the very crude point, because all the other things you can ignore. You know, like, yeah, they are building American style suburbs. It's kind of dumb. It's not very efficient, but like, who cares, right? This, on the other hand, this is pretty rough. I mean, you guys probably know the World Cup is going to be in Qatar in a few months. That was also built by slave labor, right? And this is where you really criticize the Gulf states. You know?
Rests on a mountain of human
What's up,
tragedies.
man? Hope
Poor
you've been
people
doing
from
good. Yes,
third world
I've been
countries such as India, Pakistan,
amazingly.
and Bangladesh are lured in by work agencies promising high wages and stable employment. People take loans from friends and family so they can cover the costs of their travel and work visa, usually more than $2,000, despite Emirati law requiring the companies to pay for those.
Be careful about that.
Workers' passports are often confiscated, essentially trapping them inside the country. Workers
Yeah,
are
that's-
forced to
that's
work up
fucked
to
up.
12-hour shifts, up to 7 days a week, for $175 per month on average. Wage arrears are common, many workers not receiving money for months on end. To quote from a Human Rights Watch report, the impact on workers whose wages are withheld for even 1 month
I mean, imagine that. Imagine making $175 a month. A month, bro. That's. I mean, really? Like, if you're from India, that's worth it? I mean, again, they lie, right? They lie to them. I don't know. $175 a month. That's so insane. That's so insanely low, especially because you're living in fucking Dubai, dude. One of the most expensive cities in the world. I don't know, man. It's pretty fucked up.
very serious. They immediately fall into arrears on the debt they owe recruiting agencies in their home countries. They incur additional interest, and they are unable to send money home for their families who depend on their income earned in the Emirates. In some cases, the non-payment of wages means that workers do not have money to buy food or basic goods and end up borrowing money just to survive. The COVID epidemic only made things worse. That and the oil price crashing left many workers jobless. Consequently, many were abandoned by their former employers. They now spend their days in half-abandoned worker camps on the outskirts of the city. Only volunteers and their food donations standing between them and starvation. A Guardian article quotes a construction worker called Hassan. He says, "Guests on and off visit and give something, but when nobody comes, we have to starve. We have nothing." All this just a few kilometers away from the 7-star
We have to
hotels, the world's
starve.
tallest
Holy
skyscraper,
fuck.
the world's biggest mall, and the golf courses for rich foreigners. According to the estimates of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, between 2012 and mid-2018, more than 10 Indian workers died in Gulf countries every single day. And these are just the Indians. In addition to that, a Jezebel article goes on to say that at least 2 Indians commit suicide every single week in the Emirates.
What the
a
hell?
number, they say, that is simultaneously both shocking yet unsurprising. They show
my
photos
God.
of the accommodation the workers have to endure,
Wow.
unfit even for animals. A harsh contrast to Instagram's parallel universe. They call this system modern slavery, and I'm afraid they are correct. This, and the previously mentioned issues, but especially this, is why I hate the Emirates
Holy fuck. Look at this guy, dude. You can tell he doesn't want to sleep both on his left or on his right, you know? Hey, I might be living on $100 a month, but I ain't no homo. Wow. That was sad.
And especially fucking hate Dubai. The city of Dubai is a fucking joke. One that's unusually cruel. It's a twisted parody of everything wrong with modern humanity. I'll leave you with a poem from Bertolt Brecht, written in 1935, titled Questions from a Worker, who reads: Who built Thebes of the Seven Gates? In the books you will read the names of kings. Did the kings haul up the lumps of rock? And Babylon, many times demolished, who raised it up so many times? In what houses of gold glittering Lima did its builders live? Where, the evening that the Great Wall of China was finished, did the masons go? Great Rome is full of triumphal arches. Who erected them? Over whom did the Caesars triumph? Had Byzantium, much praised in song, only palaces for its inhabitants? Even in fabled Atlantis, the night that the ocean engulfed it, the drowning still cried out for their slaves. The young Alexander conquered India. Was he alone? Caesar defeated the Gauls. Did he not even have a cook with him? Philip of Spain wept when his armada went down. Was he the only
Okay,
one
we
to
get
weep?
it.
Frederick II won the 7 Years' War. Who else won it? Every page a victory. Who cooked the feast for the victors? Every 10 years a great man. Who paid the bill? So many reports, so many questions.
Damn. That is fucked up. It is very sad. Especially the workers thing. It's just horrific because Dubai is supposed to be one of the wealthiest societies in the world, right? But like most of the workers live in terrifying fucking conditions. And yeah, and again, he showed some pictures and we can even look at some more like, is this against YouTube's? I don't think so. This is actually interesting though. When you look at Dubai workers, like the first pictures you see are not like bad pictures, right? It's workers having fun. This is actually really interesting though. And then there we go. These are the ones. So a bunch of men sleeping in like bunks. Man, the smell, holy fuck, the smell of these rooms has to be nauseating. Look, they don't even have air conditioner. They just have a fan. What the hell? Bro, I'm late. I was listening to a podcast. No worries, man. Thanks for being here. Golden Toaster. They have a fucking fan, dude, in Dubai, in the fucking desert. They don't have like air conditioner. It's just a fucking fan. Oh, salary. Do we have a salary report? No, okay, no, this is not. Wow. Is air conditioner common in Mexico? Depends. Depends where you live. If you live like in the coast where it can get hot, it is pretty common. In Mexico City, it's not really because the weather is just so nice. Like you don't really need air conditioner, so it's just like not worth it. But yeah, it is common on some cities, you know, or even the north where like the Sonoran Desert is located. Well, holy shit. Shall we watch this guy's video on the capital of Egypt? Or should we watch this one? I really want to watch Monsieur C's video on what if Mexico joined the Central Powers. Maybe we can criticize it a little bit. Maybe we can dunk on him a little bit. I don't know. Let's watch this one. The workers are treated like dirt. I know, dude. Like worse than animals. It's just fucking absurd. It is like outraging. I don't know. But yeah, holy. It's strange. It is really a strange city when you think about it, right? All that wealth and opulence, and then you have all the poverty. Jesus. Anyways, the Monsieur C video is bad. That's even better, brother. You know, we get to criticize it. Hoser. Oh yeah, but let's see what Hoser has been doing. There we go. That's your boy. Okay, Hoser. Let's see. Boom. So there's a few. So the India one seems interesting. The East African Federation, is the East African Federation a good idea? This one also seems pretty interesting. I don't know. You guys decide. Like I said, I have nothing planned, so go for it. You know, you should watch Canadiana video about the history of the Canadian anthem. Oh, we can watch that too. We have time. Kinda. That's the anthem that goes, "Oh, Canada,
We've come here.
our home and native land, true patriot love. Where is this fucking anthem? With glow." I don't see it, dude. Well, we'll look for it later. Have you heard about the real estate crash in China? I've heard there was a real estate bubble, but I don't know if it has already crashed. But if there's an interesting video on that, I totally love it. You missed it. Huh. This is about piracy. The second at the top. The second at the top. Oh, from the bottom? The bizarre history of Canada? Dude. Do you have like the name? Oh, the bizarre history of... Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, let's watch one of Hoser's and then we'll watch that one. Yeah, let's watch this one, dude. Why not?
You know Africa, right? A land full of resources but mismanaged by the colonial and post-colonial governments with plenty of borders that, let's just say, don't make that much sense. Africa is full of diversity with many different regions.
Holy crap, look at that
North
map.
Africa, West Africa, South Africa, and East Africa. But what if it didn't just have to
South
be a
Africa,
region?
bro.
What if they combined forces into one super country that transcends national borders?
South
I
Afghanistan.
mean, the borders weren't drawn for their insight anyways, so who needs them? That's where the proposed East African Federation comes in. The EAF is proposed to be made up of Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, and also South Sudan and the DRC have joined too. This will make the proposed EAF an absolute behemoth of a country. Just look at this.
Yeah.
It will by far be the largest African
Look at those borders, my guy. I mean, they have access to both oceans, though, so hey, good for them. Yeah, the borders are just fucking insane.
From the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian. It will also be the biggest in terms of population, squeezing ahead of Nigeria and becoming the fourth most populous country on Earth with around 315 million people.
Wow,
So if this
really
country
close to the
happens,
USA.
It will make a splash for sure. But let's be honest, can it even happen?
I don't think so.
They are currently in the process of trying to integrate together. Right now, they have the East African Community, a
Them
union
borders
of sorts, and
looking
they're trying to
nice.
launch a common market.
Prussia would be
This will
proud, dude.
include free movement of labor, capital, goods, and immigrants across the internal borders of the EAC. It will also include a singular currency, the East African shilling, and growing their headquarters in their proposed capital, Arusha. With many different styles of government, levels of poverty and corruption, institutions, histories, civil conflicts, geographies, and just overall different countries, it will not be easy for these 7 nations to integrate together, especially if they add more countries to the ticket. And it has not
Zimbabwe.
been easy already. They're already behind schedule. A constitution was planned to be written in 2021, but that didn't happen, so it was pushed to 2023.
I guess we'll
So
see.
who knows if it'll actually happen. The East African Federation would be a big deal if it were to happen. But why might these African countries give up independence and...
I mean, yeah, will it happen, especially on a region that's known for ethnic conflict, right? Talk about Rwanda, for example. So, well, I mean, could it happen? Obviously, but would it be necessarily the best of ideas, especially, again, considering all the ethnic conflict that many of these countries have had? I don't know. I guess we'll see what Hoser has to say about it.
merge together? After all, these countries fought very hard for their independence from the European powers.
Thank you,
of the
Belgium,
UK and
for
Belgium,
that fucking
and I
mess.
guess Sudan too. The idea of an East African Union goes back to the 1960s, right when these countries got independence. This union was proposed between the new countries of Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika, and Zanzibar, back when Zanzibar used to be its own country. It would have essentially been a
Nice.
smaller EAF, or would have looked more like Tanzania today. See, during talks, Kenya did not want to give up the independence they had achieved, and after Kenya left,
Yeah, more like
Uganda
Greater
didn't
Kenya,
want to be
right?
isolated from the rest of the union, so they left too. But both Tanganyika and Zanzibar were good to go in this union, so they merged into the country
As
of
Tanzania, yeah.
That's where Tanzania gets its name, Tan and Zan. The idea was then forgotten about since it actually happened, and Tanzania was a remnant of that old proposal. The idea didn't spring back up again until the 2010s, after some time had passed and the nations got a taste of what it was like to be independent. It was originally proposed between the 3 original countries, including Rwanda and Burundi this time, surrounding the Great Lakes region by one unified country. But why did they want to merge? Let's look at some of their problems in making nations. Corruption, poverty, lack of foreign investment from fear of instability, and border issues. East Africa wants a common market to grow, which would make a much more attractive country to bring your sweet foreign money to. Most companies invest in the region anyways, with the exception of South Sudan and the DRC. A unified market and laws would spread the development around East Africa and boost all their economies. Unified infrastructure would help them ship materials out of their country and even give the chance for Africa to grow its own manufacturing hub, since many companies hate manufacturing inside of Africa from lack of infrastructure, and corruption
roads,
at their
trains.
borders. It would increase the domestic investment in the whole nation. Some richer guys on the east could invest in the more poor west, and a new government with new institutions could hopefully do some serious work to stamp out corruption, although that would be quite the task.
This could be an interesting idea. Let's remember that the Congo is one of the wealthiest places in terms of natural resources, minerals, right? And, you know, places like Kenya tend to be like the wealthier parts of Africa. So when you combine that, you could make a lot of the resources of the Congo sometimes don't get extracted because, like he said, there's a lack of infrastructure. So when you have that money to build that infrastructure, that could be an interesting proposal, not only for local investors, but foreign money. So, hey.
It just gives East
You should watch
Africa
just the
much
facts
more leverage
video
on the
about
world
Israel
stage. The countries have
from
realized they are
Hoser.
more alike than they are different, and have decided to partner together to get their voice heard outside of Africa. They originally didn't go ahead with the country because the whole process was halted
which
in
tutorial you're talking
2016
about,
when a
man.
new member, South Sudan, had joined, and then again in 2022 when the Democratic Republic of the
can I
Congo
come to you?
joined. These two countries are some of the poorest in Africa and the world, and need a lot of internal help from the EAC to kickstart this process of integration. Who knows how this will affect the timeline of actually integrating, but it could be...
It would be an investment for sure, but it could pay off because of the resources of the Congo.
Even more if other countries join. For instance, Somalia has applied to join, but being in shambles, they're still waiting on that acceptance letter, with their application being frozen in 2019. And some other potential joiners are Zambia, Sudan, although they're being pretty opposed by South Sudan, and even
Holy
Ethiopia.
shit.
The addition of these countries, especially Ethiopia, could boost the EAF.
I mean, every country might as well join.
It's still all up in the air right now. So if this federation will be so amazing for the region, why haven't they done it yet? What are the cons to the EAF? Let's just say it. The proposed EAF is made up of many different regions, all very diverse from one another. How could this country look in both its land and its people, and does it keep it from the nation forming? The EAF would be an absolutely massive nation, taking India's spot as the 7th largest country worldwide. It spans from coast to coast and up the Nile River until it hits Sudan. It would mainly be a tropical country with some arid spots in the east, but it would be hot, sitting directly on the equator. To the west is likely where the EAF would get their raw materials. In the DRC, and especially the Katanga region to the southeast of it, there are bountiful amounts of metals, cobalt, copper, gold, diamonds, and of course, rubber too. Being part of the EAF, Katanga would benefit greatly by being able to export to the east rather than to the west up through this long Congo River. It might even leave the western part of the Congo undeveloped, having much less use for the rest of the nation. They do still have that fancy Congo River to encourage some development to the west though. Going eastward, there are 2 coastal nations, Kenya and Tanzania. They are much drier and bumpy, having the mountains rise them out of the equatorial heat. To the north is South Sudan, known for its tropical beaches and peaceful lands. Just kidding, they're known for getting blown to bits and barely surviving.
I was like, South Sudan beaches, what is he talking about?
Also fairly tropical up here, discouraging development except for this one strip here called the Nile River. Having control over part of the Nile has already turned Egypt and Ethiopia against each other. And if the other part were to be in one nation as well, it would give the EAF the same power. And then the heartland of the EAF is made up of Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Here the land rises up and makes some cool areas great for farming and city building by the Great Lakes of Africa. Since they control the Great Lakes, Nile, and Congo rivers, the EAF would potentially have a huge amount of power over the trade flow of the region. They control the shipping lanes. And since one of Africa's greatest problems has been lack of steady trade, it could make the EAF a huge potential customer to future nations and firms. The geography is very diverse, but that's what you get when you combine a bunch of borders that weren't drawn by the East Africans, and makes a split between the east, west, and north of the nation with their own trade routes. But controlling the 3 separate trade routes in the area likely brings much more benefit than harm. The second part of the EAF is the people actually living there. A country isn't all just land. When the Europeans came to Africa, they kind of just drew borders wherever they felt like, and it ended up creating some pretty...
So look at that, just 1880, you've got a huge piece of the Ottoman Empire, French Algeria, you've got Morocco, and a bunch of independent tribes, and the Cape Colony for Great Britain. 30 years later, and I actually maybe even a little earlier, you could see like the results of the scrambles for Africa.
Pretty ethnically interesting countries. What's better than 7 different jumbled up countries? One massive jumbled up country. It could work, creating an identity of a multi-ethnic union like the European Union, but much more federalized.
Maybe.
Hopefully they would also be able to keep this identity, since it hasn't worked for some of these nations in the past. Rwanda had a genocide over the split between Hutus and Tutsis in their country. The DRC has had many different regions try to separate from their country. And South Sudan has pretty much been in violence ever since their independence in 2011. The EAF would have a population about 1/3 of a billion people and rapidly growing, possibly hitting over 700 million by 2050.
Yikes.
That is insanely fast and will not be easy to accommodate for the underdeveloped region. The people would be united through religion and language, trying to form a national identity of East African rather than tribal or ethnic identity.
I mean, now it's more like
76% of the
Central
population would be
African.
Christian, but a significant Muslim minority would exist, especially in Tanzania, and English, French, and Swahili would become the most spoken languages, with Swahili designated as the lingua franca. This would isolate Tanzania being a Muslim majority. And
interesting how they didn't pick English though. I guess maybe to promote some sort of African unity. But you would think places, for example, like India, where many different linguistic groups communicate in English, they've decided to choose Swahili. And again, many of the peoples in East Africa speak Swahili, but not all. So particularly interesting that they did not pick English or maybe even French. I don't know. I mean, the Congo, the DRC speaks French. Hello, bro. Salute. When my great grandfather was young, the French Empire almost didn't exist except Algeria. And when he died, the empire was already over. This was very fast. I know, right? That's actually a really interesting story, though. Your grandfather got to see the beginning and the end of that kind of French Empire. I mean, the Congo and Rwanda don't speak English. Oh, yeah, exactly.
In the DRC with South Sudan, who does not have a large Swahili-speaking population. But those are some challenges you run into when you try to merge this large of a region together. It has hundreds of local languages, plenty of ethnicities, and a split between English and Belgian colonial effects. What they also have going for them, though, is what they call a
big
youth
population
bulge.
ball.
Currently,
Yeah,
65% of their population is under 30, and by 2030, it could be 75%
Wow.
under 25. There are so
What
many
the
kids
fuck,
being pumped
yeah.
out in this region that could have huge
Calm
effects on
down,
their
brothers,
output in 20
chill.
to 30 years when these kids grow up. If it can urbanize enough and accommodate the hundreds of millions of new East Africans, then the EAF would certainly be a force to be
that's
reckoned
gonna
with
be a
if it
mess.
doesn't combust internally. Just how would these countries integrate into
pledge
one
allegiance
massive
to the
African
bag.
economy? If they were to merge today, it would only be the fourth largest African economy behind Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa, yet their plans are not for today. They would hope to become more and more relevant economically throughout the century, becoming an African powerhouse.
It's mad to think that when my great grandmother was born in 1921, the British Empire was at its zenith. But when she passed this year, I'm so sorry about that. The empire had been over since 1997, with I think Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken. I've got a video, sure, bro, you can share it.
So how can they do it? Varying wildly internally. I mean, the countries that are here have greatly different governments and economies. Rwanda and Kenya seem to be doing fairly well, but places like the DRC and South Sudan are barely
burning,
trudging
yeah.
along. Sadly, they are acting more as deadweights on the EAC rather than contributing members, and are having a hard time conforming to the economic standards which the EAC deems necessary. South Sudan needs to ask the other nations for aid in order to meet their guidelines, and it has already caused some tensions with countries still charging visas across the border. But since they have plans for free trade and free movement, they need to develop across the entire nation, hopefully by 2024 when they plan on distributing the new currency. The countries would need to give up monetary sovereignty, but I think that would be a great idea for the weaker nations to give that up, since they have been battling chronic hyperinflation for a while now. In terms of infrastructure, the EAF would make the region so much richer. One project, the Lamu Corridor, would connect Western supplies to ship out of Kenya in their busy ports. It would also connect Ethiopia to shipping outside of Kenya, which would mutually benefit the two nations. But most of the people actually living here are still good old farmers. In order to actually make things and ship them off, you need a strong manufacturing industry. Luckily, manufacturing is on the rise, and the nation would almost certainly export to China, India, and the Middle East. The creation of the new jobs to help their poverty issue, more investment into the region, while their youth pulse is still growing, could see a reduction in poverty that resembles China's in the late 1900s. With a common market, lack of insecure borders, and proper large-scale corridor projects, it is looking more and more likely that manufacturing and agro-processing can become large industries in East Africa. No more corrupt cops taking profits at the border. And hey, exporting a bunch of things to the world has historically been the best way to industrialize and reduce poverty in your nation, at least according to all of these rich Asian countries.
Like all of them, yeah.
Is the East African Federation a good idea? I say yes, despite the many problems and challenges the new nation will face. It would give these small and relatively poor nations some leverage and talking power on the world stage, both diplomatically and economically. It would likely become a major manufacturer for China, India...
Like politically, just imagine the power that you would have in the region. I mean, when you have especially a lot of countries like South Africa, like Nigeria, Egypt, that maybe take the spot most of the time. Now you would be the most important country in Africa, and that's some leverage right there. The story of Anthem, a medieval child by Trev the Explainer. Sure, bro, we can check that out.
Ethiopia and the rest of Africa, enriching East Africa. If, and it's a big if, Somalia were to join, it could stabilize that nation, and the world would cheer.
I am the businessman now.
Shipping lines would be free from harm.
That's awesome.
And it would unify a region known for corruption and lack of investment, creating a shared market, free travel, and free trade, throwing away the old borders of East Africa. This country would benefit the world stage if they could stay together, separated by demographics and its massive geography, controlling 3 trade routes in Africa. If it were to happen, the EAF would certainly become an African power. If only they could just get together and finally write a constitution.
Hurry up with that goddamn constitution, bro. That was pretty good though. That was pretty interesting. So we have this one. Give me a minute, guys. I'm gonna go for a bottle of water, and I'll see you very soon. All right? I just like 2 minutes. Well, okay. Made it on time. So we can watch this video about the story of Canada, the Anthem of Canada. So apparently this video from Monsieur C, it's bad.
In the history of warfare, few individual
But I still want to watch it, you know, so sorry about that, guys.
documents have been as famously impactful as the Zimmerman telegram between Germany and Mexico. The year is 1917 and the Great War is at a major turning point after years of stalemate. Russia has faced heavy losses, experienced increasing unrest, and stood on the brink of collapse. Romania was pacified. The Ottoman theater of the conflict was experiencing major developments in favor of the Entente. Both Britain and Germany were in a resource
I won't forget, bro. We'll
working to
promise.
starve each other into submission. And the Western Front, having been characterized by slow progress for years, was finally being shook up by French efforts, while German troops, eventually freed up in the east, began funneling westward. Among all these changes, one factor carried the most tremendous concern for Germany, and that was the potential entry of the United States into the conflict on the side of the Triple Entente.
Which, when you think about it, they were the ones who made America enter the war.
The Germans were confident that once the Eastern Front was closed, they could utilize that freed manpower and the resource supply of the East to sustain a final high-intensity campaign against Britain and France. But to achieve that, Germany would still need to isolate Britain from outside supplies through the use of unrestricted submarine warfare, something that the United States had warned Germany against because of the risk it posed to American shipping. The United States was still neutral, and Germany eagerly wanted to keep things that way. The present course of the conflict in Europe seemingly offered a victory to the Central Powers if it continued without outside interference, but in Germany's eyes, the chances of America joining the war grew higher by the day. Bearing unmatched industrial capabilities the world over, and not having been exhausted by the burdens of the war over the last few years, the United States would be an overwhelming tide turner on the Western Front that could ensure Britain would never run out of supplies, and France
they were basically the ones that
soldiers to endure a prolonged conflict.
won the war.
Germany was more than willing to outlast France and Britain on their own, but could not do so if they were bolstered by the US. If the United States were to become involved, the Germans needed
I'm pretty sure France and Britain would have won without the US. Oh, that's an interesting take.
a failsafe, something to preoccupy the US and keep them away from the European theater, and immediately German attention turned to Mexico. In January of 1917, Germany sent Mexico the Zimmerman telegram, in which they proposed an alliance. On the surface, Mexico appears the perfect candidate. It's a large country right on America's border. It maintains ambitions on lands lost to the United States, has recently grown more hostile toward its northern neighbor for a number of interventions within its own land and the Latin American sphere. And, interestingly enough, Mexico stood as a major petroleum exporting country for the Triple Entente, providing some 75% of the fuel supply for Britain's Royal Navy.
How many?
Providing some 75% of the fuel supply for Britain's Royal Navy.
75%? Get the fuck out of here. That's a lot. 75? Did he actually said 75%?
Exporting country for the Triple Entente, providing some 75% of the fuel supply for Britain's Royal Navy.
Huh. Alright. I mean...
If the United States were to join the war, Mexico
dude.
would make a perfect counter. Except, it wouldn't. Germany, in its evaluation of Mexico, must have neglected to recognize their population size, their lacking military capabilities, the chaotic state the nation was then in, and the underdeveloped nature of Mexico's infrastructure. The United States at the time had a population second only to Russia, China, and the collective British Empire. Mexico's population was less than 15% of the US population. That population also happened to be engaged in a civil war, with a leadership that could have been easily overthrown by a pro-American replacement if the US were to become actively involved. Top that all off with the fact that Mexico was and still is infamously underdeveloped when compared to its northern neighbor. Transporting supplies and soldiers would be a nightmare for Mexico if it needed to compete with a much better coordinated US. Plainly, there was no real way for Mexico to defeat the United States. But that was never Germany's goal. What the Germans needed wasn't for the US to be defeated, but distracted, long enough for the Germans to bring the conflict to an end in Europe. Mexico had just enough pull to make that possible, and if the Mexicans could bog down the United States in a chaotic guerrilla war with multiple factions while cutting fuel supplies to the Entente and forcing the US to divert its own weapons and resources to Mexico, then that just might be enough to make a difference. But then of course we need to ask why. Why would Mexico agree to sacrifice itself for Germany? What would it have to gain? On paper, Germany had offered Mexico an opportunity to reacquire Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico from the United States. But even Mexico's government and military recognized the sheer unlikelihood of successfully invading, annexing, and then holding these states, which, mind you, now contained overwhelmingly American populations, with the Mexican descendant population being negligible. Even if the Civil War were concluded and it had the full force of its unified military at its disposal, Mexico could not foresee success in this venture, making it not worth the risk. Germany had not even promised military support to Mexico but mere financial support, which even then was questionable given Germany's past failure to help their supported faction in the Civil War establish a national bank. Truly, it only seemed like Germany had empty promises for Mexico. Japan was also intended to play a role in all of this, with California having been promised to the Japanese if they were to change sides and preoccupy the US now that the Russian defeat appeared inevitable, but Japan openly rejected these overtures for alliance. In the end, Mexico too would reject Germany's offer, and the Zimmerman telegram would help motivate the end.
Oh shit, I remember playing Mexico in Hearts of Iron 4 and invading the US. A fellow Hispanic content creator, that's right, man. Hell yeah. Are you a content creator yourself? MacMan, interesting. Well, we need more Hispanic content creator, brother. Yeah, I need to play more Hearts of Iron, dude. I really.
The United States into
I don't know how to play. You know, I'm just super mad.
But what if all that changed? What if in an alternate timeline, despite the odds against them, Mexico agreed to the alliance and joined the Central Powers?
We would get wrecked, son.
Firstly, Mexico would demand additional conditions from Germany for its entry into the war. Fighting the United States would be a death sentence without these conditions, and they would not be able to even attempt a securing of their promised territories without them. Firstly is financial and resources.
I looked him up.
Mexico would be cutting off its trade with Britain and would expect Germany to dedicate necessary money. Yes, I am a baby.
We are babies, brother. Yeah. But hey, congrats for the 5K subs, bro.
And machinery from Germany to be able to compete with American production and its advanced military. And it would need these things immediately before officially agreeing.
Let's go like sub for sub and maybe
Germany
collab.
was one of the foremost industrial nations on the planet, had a surplus of weaponry thanks to war production, and in our timeline even made similar arrangements with China to help in their industrialization and militarization. Thirdly, Mexico would need Germany to continue waging war upon the United States once the European theater comes to a close. The Germans would be hesitant to follow through on this final point, but with no other choice and knowing that they'd soon be at war with the United States regardless, would agree to Mexico's terms. Just for the sake of this scenario and giving Mexico every possible edge we can, we are also willing to assume Germany and Mexico managed to convince Japan to change sides, as was expressed in the Zimmerman telegram.
What a strange alliance, Japan, Mexico, and Germany. It's just, it sounds kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe not an alliance that you would think of, especially because Japan and Germany were allied in World War II. So maybe, I don't know, man. HOI is fun, but a bit complicated when you haven't played much. True, it's been getting harder and harder. Maybe I should give it a go. I don't know. It's just, there's so many things that I get a little
As part of Germany's plan
you know?
was for a direct alliance to exist between Mexico and Japan, not necessarily Germany and Japan.
Nice, Japan is homies, you
Perhaps
know?
in negotiations
Japan are the
between three,
homies
Germany could
for
promise
us, so
Japan far eastern Russian lands, which would become more immediately accessible,
So it would make a little
along
bit of
with
sense.
surrendering its own claims on Chinese lands which Japan had occupied, and ceding Entente territories within East Asia,
I have
including the American
3,500
Philippines, in addition to the
hours.
promise of
Holy
California if
fuck.
the US were to enter the war.
Japan are the homies.
All
Oh,
of
yeah.
that should prove sufficient enough to at least entice consideration by Japan.
They're just the homies.
With
you
all
know?
that said,
Yeah.
we're going to consider two
They're really
possibilities
close.
following Mexico's agreement to the alliance. First, let's imagine a scenario in which the United States, hoping to prevent the spread of the Great War to the American
Well,
continent,
son!
decides not to involve
Y'all
itself
remember
despite
that video?
continued aggression by German U-boats. President
That was the
Wilson,
gift of
feeling the need
Dragon
to reduce
Ball, true.
incidents of U-boat attacks to both save American lives and prevent outrage on the home front, dramatically
I don't think Japan would have joined Germany in World War One. Japan was a strong friend of the British before and during World War One. Yeah, that's true. Not only that, but they actually took a bunch of Japanese colonies in the Pacific because that's what they wanted. Japan at the time wanted empire, and they wanted colonies, right? And the German colonies seemed like an interesting prospect. So you're right. Probably, I mean, they wouldn't have joined. But hey, alternate history, right?
cuts trade with Britain to a
Yeah,
bare
Japan
minimum.
eventually joined the UK.
The British would essentially be cut off from all resources coming from North America. Without Mexican fuel, American supplies, and with Germany emboldened to increase its use of unrestricted submarine warfare in the Atlantic, even supplies brought in from Canada would shrink to a fraction of the former quantity. Britain's war machine would grind to a halt, and its population would face even more intense rationing than in our world, possibly leading to civil unrest and widespread demands to end the conflict by the end of the year. France, as a consequence of what was occurring in Britain, would see its own line of support shrink on account of reliance on British air support, industry, and land reinforcements. As the German line is bolstered by soldiers from the east, the French line collapses, and Paris capitulates. Because the US never enters the war, the alliance with Mexico and Japan never activates, and this becomes a typical German victory timeline. Now, our second scenario is one in which the US, despite the emergence of this alliance, feels confident enough that it can defeat Mexico quickly, and decides to declare war upon Germany regardless, opening up an American front of the Great War.
This would be
Immediately, the United States
terrible,
would be
brother.
forced to initiate War Plan Green, and shortly then after, War Plan Orange against Japan. War Plan Green called for a blockading of Mexico and a seizing of its major ports, as had occurred during the occupation of Veracruz.
Wait, is this a thing? War Plan Green? Is this like an actual thing, against Mexico? War Plan Green. That sounds so strange, dude. I mean, it would make sense that they would have some sort of plan in case of a war against us, but I guess now we're more like homies. But
This would
back
include
then,
the ports of Mazatlan, Manzanillo, and Salina Cruz along the western coast, as well as the whole of Veracruz along the eastern coast. Baja
They have a
California would see
plan.
total
Yeah, that's
occupation
scary,
while land
brother.
forces pushed into the northern Mexican states to establish a buffer zone from which to conduct operations against the capital in the country's mountainous center, all the while keeping American cities and towns on the borders safe from raids.
yeah,
An alliance might emerge between the US and the dwindling forces of Pancho Villa concentrated in the northwestern states. The
I
US
mean, maybe.
potentially
No,
propping him up
that's-
as a replacement leader.
I don't
An
know.
alternative replacement also existed in the form of Felix Diaz, the nephew of former Mexican dictator
I mean, didn't Pancho Villa invaded literally New Mexico?
Porfirio Diaz, who happened to be operating out of Veracruz. Diaz was a far less radical figure than Villa, and carried less controversy behind him given that Villa had previously attacked American border towns. Whatever the case, either or both of these two men would see a massive surge to prominence once War Plan Green came into effect.
During the Mexican-American War, they even wanted to annex Baja California, but didn't cause pushback. Yeah, they didn't. The land was true. Yeah, he raised some
Just as
towns.
during the First Mexican-American War, it would be determined that the quickest way to topple the Mexican capital would be through a push from the coast of Veracruz,
Yeah.
again lending support to Diaz as a potential successor to Carranza. Without much German support in those early years, Mexico would be forced to endure the conflict alone until the Germans swept up the conflict in Europe, once
Thank
again
you,
likely needing a
Germany.
year
That's
to do
nice
so.
of you.
What little support Mexico did receive would come in the form of U-boat attacks on the American Navy in attempts to break the blockade, but outside of the weaponry and supplies Germany had managed to transport to Mexico prior to their joining the war, they'd be mostly on their own. But the US would be preoccupied, and petroleum shipments to Britain would cease. As for Japan, 3 immediate targets come to mind: the Philippines, Guam, and Samoa, followed by an island-hopping campaign to Hawaii and the Panama Canal. War Plan Orange
Like
called
they
for an
did
essential
in World
abandoning
War
of the
II, of
Philippines,
course.
Guam, and Samoa until sufficient resources could be freed up and mobilized.
Yeah, again, I now understand why you guys say that this video was stupid. It's just, it really is dumb. Of course, like, Mexico lost, and there's not much to it, but
blockade and eventual toppling of the Japanese islands, but with conflict raging on with both Mexico and Germany, the American Navy likely would be too tied up to pursue this strategy and be forced to adopt a different approach. As per War Plan Orange, the Panama Canal would be reinforced, something likely already taken up given the increased activity in the region, while remaining naval forces in California set off to bolster Hawaii as the
so we're
anticipated
fucked,
main
basically.
battlefield against Japan. By the time the war had wrapped up in Europe and Germany was able to actively contribute to the Mexican front, it would have likely been too little.
I'm glad I'm watching instead of the video. Thanks, man.
Felix Diaz would be installed as the new
Appreciate that.
president of Mexico, or at least what remained of it. Having dealt with the consequence of Mexican instability for years by that point,
I was about to
refusing
watch this,
allow
but then your
so
stream
large a
showed
state
up.
right
Now
on
I'm
its border to
subbed and
fall back
staying.
into
Ah,
chaos,
thanks,
the
brother. I
country would be
appreciate it.
partitioned, granting autonomy to the northwest and the south under the leadership
Anthem,
of
I'll do
Villa
the same
and
with your
Emiliano
channel.
Zapata, respectively. Some portions of the Yucatan and southern Mexico, most specifically the Tehuantepec Isthmus, may see American annexation or leasing for its potential as an alternative.
I mean, when
transit.
talk about American zones of interest, northern Mexico, especially Baja, come to mind. The Yucatan Peninsula also has had some attention from the United States. You know, if you remember that Golden Circle thing, where they wanted back in the Confederate days, you know, to like use it as some sort of slave plantation, I think. So hey, you know, it would make sense. I don't know if they would annex this much land. This includes other states that maybe doesn't make a lot of sense, but at least this part of the Yucatan, that could make sense. I don't know, man. This video
or
is
simply as a short overland
strange.
route from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The oil fields of Tampico
More Latin
had also
brothers
been
in
of
North
great interest
America,
to the
yeah,
US
especially
as
Central
well,
America.
and might be leased to
They
the
love
United
our
States
young
by
girls.
the new regime, but likely not see outright annexation, given that the surrounding area would be considered far more integral to Mexico than the more rebellious and divergent far north and south. Those southern lands annexed by the US being fairly rich in oil reserves themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Japan would be repelled from Hawaii, but the Philippines and West Pacific Islands would be lost, allowing Japan to come away from this conflict with many additional gains at relatively little expense. A post-war peace would see Germany pay reparations to the United States for all damages caused by unrestricted submarine warfare, as well as for the destruction faced by Mexico. Refusing to allow Germany to meddle in American affairs
What about
again,
us?
a reaffirming of the Monroe Doctrine would likely be incorporated into this peace treaty, but go hand in hand with Germany's own affirmations of its dominance in Europe and Africa, and of Japan's dominance in East Asia.
Yikes. I mean, he just used the same thumbnail for this video. What if Mexico won the Mexican-American War? I think we have already watched this, I think. I don't know. I mean, again, another impossible scenario of just stupidness. You know. But hey, Germany have way too much in Africa. I know, right? They have just a bunch of places. And by the way, what seems strange is that they also declare war on Portugal. So, I mean, Angola, Mozambique, they would probably get that too. I mean, they already have all of Africa, right? But hey, I mean, they allowed France to get Algeria, still, Djibouti, Liberia, still American. Or, well, it's not even American, dude. It's just independent. And the British still have South Africa. And what is this? This is like Sierra Leone, I think. So, yeah. Interesting video. Maybe not necessarily good. But hey, you know, it wasn't terrible, dude. Some of you are extremely overreacting to it. So we have a few videos. I'm looking for this one. There we go. I haven't forgotten, my man. We got it. The story of Onfium, a medieval child. So let's watch this. A lot of you seem excited about this video. Did you know that Portugal and England and later the UK have been allies since 1174? I've heard that they have a very strong alliance and it was very old, but I didn't know that it was from 1174. That's a long ass time. So yeah, one of the oldest alliances, I guess, England and Portugal. Makes sense because there's a lot of British like tourists and expats inside Portugal. So Trey the Explainer, I haven't watched much of this channel.
Hello there guys, and welcome to another installment of Trey the Explainer. The way human history is often taught in classrooms nowadays can seem kind of boring, in my opinion. Centuries of history are boiled down to socio-economic
that is, I think, pretty accurate.
And major cultural shifts. Don't get me wrong.
Wow. And that's a video in my top 5 of historical videos. Damn.
Perspective is important, but I think it removes the humanity of history. Past peoples become these shapeless and faceless blobs that we never really get to meet or understand. They lack any kind of agency or individuality. Modern audiences can walk away with the idea that people in the past were simple, brutish, and far too different to be like us. But that's not what it was like at all. History was built on the lives of millions of individual people.
Not
just Julius Caesar, but Caesar's cobbler, Caesar's cook, the orphaned child who watched him ride by from a back alley in Rome, the Chinese rice farmer thousands of miles away who lived at the exact same time but would never hear the general's name, someone's favorite grandma weaving baskets on the other side of the globe. All their lives were emotional, complicated, messy, and at times very beautiful. Humans, as far as we can tell, have always been, well, human. Every single one of them had that spark of humanity.
I know, right?
They lived,
Shocker.
they grew up, they loved, they hated, they told the truth, they lied, they could be cruel, they could be goofy and dorky, and above all else, they dreamed. Every time I see a human skull, and I do this quite a bit, I often wonder what types of dreams once swirled around within it.
Holy
Believe
fuck,
me,
that's
humans
deep,
have not changed
dude.
much over several thousand years. I think that nothing illustrates this fact better than when you look at ancient graffiti in ancient cities like Pompeii. What archaeologists find is not the refined speech of playwrights or historians, but the common everyday gossip of the small folk, the countless nameless people that never get so much as a mention in the historical accounts. They offer a rare glance into the entirely ordinary and mundane life of the average person, filled with incredibly endearing dirty jokes that are somehow still relatable to a person reading them 2,000 years removed. In Pompeii, for example, you'll find quotes like this. "Weep, girls, my penis has given you up. Now it penetrates men's behinds. Implicatus."
What the hell? That's awesome, bro.
"I know that Icarus is buggering you. Heh, I screwed a lot of girls here. Cruella Lagos, why do you not love me?" Okay, these ones are pretty cute. If anyone does not believe in Venus, they should gaze at my girlfriend. "Hectus, baby, Mercator says hello." And of course, who could forget the famous, "We two dear men, friends forever, we were here. If you want to know our names, they were Gaius and Alus." Can we just take a moment to appreciate the fact that these two bros felt the need to eternalize
awesome,
their best
dude.
broness forever? Find yourself a person like that. These are all translated quotes that totally wouldn't be out of place on a modern-day social media platform.
Yo,
if we
look at
just
the
changed the
drawing,
names a
my
little
guy.
bit.
It's like one of the first dick pics in history. Holy fuck.
Atop the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, runic inscriptions were discovered on a marble parapet. The inscription was 1,100 years old, and it was initially suspected
Vikings,
that
right?
it served some kind of sacred religious importance. But a subsequent translation revealed that the writing reads as "Halfdan carved these runes," or simply "Halfdan was here."
Halfdan was here.
Historians determine that the engraving was made by a Viking named Halfdan, who was hired as a guard. Apparently, he grew tired of his guarding duties and decided to write his name on a nearby stone, only for us to rediscover centuries later. I don't think this will be a surprise at all, but this
Holy
type
crap.
of "I was here" graffiti is pretty much universal to all humans.
Drawing a penis on
The
public
tomb of
spaces is
Ramses
a
VI
tradition as
has a
old as
complaint
writing.
on its walls
Yeah,
written
I
in
know,
ancient
right?
Greek, angrily
That's awesome.
proclaiming, "I visited, and I did not like anything except the sarcophagus. Behold, the oldest Yelp review in history. Oh God,
Wow.
forgive the one who wrote this writing. This is an inscription that I wrote with my own hand. My hand will wear out, but the inscription will remain. I guess that aged really well. I could really go on
did
and
age
on
really
talking
well.
about these examples forever, but there's
Wait,
one
what?
that fell.
Defecator, may everything turn okay so that you can leave this place.
I could really go on and on talking about these examples forever, but there's
That's
one
awesome,
that really
dude.
resonates with me in particular. Nestled along the shores of the river Volkhov, the city of Novgorod, Novgorod the Great, proudly stands as one of Russia's oldest cities. It is believed that Novgorod was initially founded sometime prior to the 800s AD
It's
to
so cool,
facilitate
man.
trade between the Greeks to the far south and the Varangians or Vikings to the far north. By the Middle Ages, the city's strategic position along this trade route allowed it to grow rich, both in wealth and in culture. In the 1950s, archaeological excavations of Novgorod discovered a treasure trove unlike any other. Not of gold or silver, but of documents. The thick and waterlogged clay soil had preserved tens of thousands of thin birch tree bark sheets. Prior to the mass production of paper, birchwood bark provided people, in antiquity, a cheap and easy alternative, wherever such trees were in ample supply. Novgorod was one such place. Using a metal or bone stylus, Novgorodians could inscribe letters and words into the abundant tree bark to record details of their everyday life. Over time, these documents created a lot of clutter, and eventually people would need to dispose of old and unwanted notes and rough drafts. This is exactly what occurred with the Novgorod treasure trove. Just like us, medieval Novgorodians during the 11th to 15th centuries threw away their useless bits of paper in a dump, not giving them as much as a second thought,
Shocker.
and never knowing that scientists centuries later would marvel at their old garbage.
Wow,
Just like the
yeah.
graffiti at Pompeii, these amazingly preserved birch documents offer an unprecedented level of insight into the daily lives of medieval people.
Oh, I want to read
For
one
one
of those
thing,
so
they
bad.
illustrate
Come
that a
on.
surprisingly high portion of the population appears to have been literate, at a time where having the ability to read and write was still pretty rare. Most of these documents were ledgers, monetary agreements, and transactions. However, others were personal letters. Several belonged to a female weaver named Nastasia. Sometime during the 1400s, her husband Boris asked her to send him his favorite set of shirts, which he evidently forgot to take with him on a lengthy journey. Rather sadly, we later learned that from another of Nastasia's letters, this time sent to her parents, that Boris has sadly died.
Wow.
We've got a love letter from Nikita to Yulanitsa. Marry me, I want you, and you want me. Our witness will be Ignato. But probably most fascinating of them all, we've got, I kid you not, a child's homework of all things. Amongst the many thousands of birchwood bark manuscripts, 17 items, all dating to the 13th century,
Do any of you guys
appear
watch
to have been
Solar
from a single
Sands?
individual.
Is that like a
On
show,
many of these
or-
documents, he signed his name in a very distinctive hand, Anthem or Anthem. Anthem was a Novgorodian boy, and judging from his handwriting, he was somewhere between the ages of 6 and 10 years old at the time. About 800 years ago, Anthem was writing out the old Novgorodian alphabet, practicing syllables, and learning verses of the Bible. His writings were almost definitely homework lessons and exercises given to him by his schoolteacher. However, Anthem didn't just write, he drew. 12 of the 17 pages contained illustrations, doodled in the corners and margins.
Whoa.
Anthem sketched dozens of small characters, medieval stick figures of perhaps himself, his friends, and maybe even his teacher or parents. We can tell that Anthem had a very active imagination. He was obsessed with scenes of battles and knightly valor. On the page, simply numbered by archaeologist 200, he had apparently begun to write out the first 11 letters of the alphabet, only to get bored and doodle an image of a man riding atop a horse, thundering down and slaying a foe with a long lance. Anthem curiously wrote out his name next to the mounted figure. It is possible that this was intended to be a label, and Anthem was in fact envisioning himself as the heroic warrior, hinting at his dream of someday becoming a knight. On the back of another one of his assignments,
I
Anthem
can't
drew
relate,
a
but-
fantastical creature with a long horse-like neck, cat-like pointed ears, and a curly tail. Round its neck, Anthem writes, "I am the wild beast," again suggesting the doodle is an imaginary self-portrait of sorts. The beastly Anthem either has a long forked tongue or is spewing fire like a dragon. The text box or speech bubble next to it says, "Greetings
like
from
draws the
Anthem
hand
to Daniel," a message perhaps intended for one of the boy's friends. Page number 203 depicts a character fighting an eldritch abomination of some kind, possibly a person on fire or with long shaggy hair, or a priest clutching a poisonous snake. Even archaeologists aren't quite sure.
What the
Above
hell
the
is that?
chaotic
Yeah.
scene, the young boy writes, "Lord, help your servant Anthem." Although these sketches might have angered his instructor, they reveal a lot of endearing and adorable details about Anthem. I'm reminded of my own middle school doodles, the bizarre aliens and dinosaurs I conjured up from my imagination while daydreaming during a long and somewhat boring day of classes. Whatever happened to Anthem? We will probably never know. As far as we can tell,
Oh, that
all we have of this
sucks.
artistic genius are a few scraps of paper and nothing more. After that,
I was expecting a little something, dude. I don't know, like he was a warrior and then he died. I don't know, but we'll never know. That's traumatic. That's some
he
traumatic
disappears
shit.
from the Birchwood records in our limited view of history. Did he become a brave knight as he dreamed? Did he ever grow up and get married? Did he finally master his understanding of the alphabet? The date of Anthem's writings are somewhat unclear, as the archaeological methods have a certain degree of error. Some studies suggest they were made around the 1220s to 1230s AD, while other sources suggest a couple decades later, in the 1260s. The funny thing is that depending on the date you favor, Anthem might have grown up to fight in one of the craziest battles in military history, the Battle on the Ice, where the Prince of Novgorod, Alexander Nevsky, and his army defeated the evil order of the Teutonic Knights. The battle was
Teutonic
literally
Order.
fought
Wow.
on top of a frozen lake. Anthem could have been in his late teens or early 20s around that time. Is it possible that he might have served as a squire, or maybe even a knight in the conflict? Maybe. It is also possible that he was born after it. Whatever the case, we will likely never know. It is doubtful that
Fuck.
Anthem had any clue that his drawings would be viewed by thousands many centuries after his death, bringing his creations to life using magic. There might be 20,000 more of these birchwood texts still buried under the Russian clay. Maybe we have not seen the last of this creative young kid. Stories like Anthem's makes me feel a very oddly specific and hard to describe emotion. Sonderer. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own.
Wow.
Every human that has existed on this planet had their own dreams and complex emotions. They were just like you and I, but most of them we will never get the chance to know. All the traces that ever were have disappeared, lost to us now. It is only through pieces of tree bark or scratches on the wall, a golden record, a handprint, that these stories have been preserved, passed down to us over the vastness of time. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, never knowing their works would survive. And with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an
Yo,
amazing
that
day.
was awesome, dude.
Easy
Holy
to
fuck.
see your ESP, extra special.
What the hell? I'm gonna cry too. What the fuck? Wow, I love that, brother. That's amazing, dude. What a video. This needs like millions of views, honestly. It's interesting to say in the Byzantine Empire in, say, 600 AD, children were learning math, science, and other subjects, yeah. While children in Britain were learning how to hunt and farm. It's just interesting to learn about, you know, kids are kids, dude. Like us, like when we were kids, we would do homework and draw ourselves in ridiculous shapes and have dreams. We maybe didn't have dreams about being warriors and stab others in the throat, but wow, like it's just so strange to, I mean, it's so obvious to say that kids throughout history have been kids, but just to really imagining it, it's like, huh. Not only imagining it, seeing it, having a visual. It's so interesting. Ah, what a legend. Omfin the legend. What a good video, dude. I'm gonna subscribe to this guy. Holy crap. This really needs more views, honestly. This needs like over a million. So I don't know. Let's share the message, dude. Humans haven't really changed that much, have we? Yeah, it is a deep realization that we haven't changed that much. That technology and all that sure have changed drastically through the, forget about centuries, just the last couple of decades. But us humans, our brains are really the same. We are not that different from a person that from a century ago, you know? Years, not views. Yeah, it's not like we have evolved much in 200, 300 years. Yeah. Have you guys seen this documentary? It's in HBO. It's from World War One, and it's like called something like "They Shall Not Be Forgotten." I mean, should I get into my HBO account? Okay, maybe I should block it a little bit. It's a really good documentary because it shows you World War One from the British perspective, but it just shows you like the daily lives of like the soldiers, you know. Oh, They Shall Not Grow Old. HBO is hell expensive. Is it? I don't think it's that expensive, dude. No, it's HBO Max. Sorry, it's like because there's HBO like the TV channel, but then there's HBO the HBO Max. It's like the subscription. This one is the one I'm talking about. If you guys can watch it, watch it. It's like good. It's like a similar concept. They show you World War One soldiers being like kids, you know, young adults, chilling, like playing soccer or football. It's a really good documentary. If you They Shall Not Grow Old. It's epic. I saw it a while ago. It's fantastic. I saw it recently, and it is quite an amazing experience because not only they colored a bunch of footage from World War One, and again, it's amazing. You know, it's amazing. Go watch it if you can't, and maybe you can use like the free trial if there's a golden toaster to watch it because it's amazing, dude. It's 100% worth the money. Gosh, that was a good video, man. So we're gonna watch the history of the O Canada anthem, and if you guys have another, because I wanted to end playing some Geoguessr. I don't know. They were just like us. Yeah, they were our ages. They were 19, 20, 21, 22. And they went through horrors unlike every other young adult in history. I mean, it was a brutal war, and I really love those documentaries. So again, if you guys can watch that, go watch it. You'll thank me later. Geoguessr could be cool. Yeah. I'm doing my pro-Quebecois independence propaganda. Quebec shall prevail. I know, dude. Yeah, let's watch it, man. This is some Quebecois propaganda, but hell.
This is 1968, the Saint-Jean-Baptiste parade in Montreal.
I'm gonna leave the
That
French
year,
subtitles, you know, just
Quebec's
cause.
national holiday descended into a bloody riot. The violence began with the guests of honor being pelted by a hail of rocks and bottles, and in the middle of it all, Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
No, the father of Justin Trudeau, in it.
And in less than 24 hours, he will be elected Prime Minister of Canada for the first time. But even more unexpected than the story of the riot that happened here is the connection.
Could you watch a German veteran talks about World War I experience? Sure, let's watch it. Sounds really interesting for sure.
Our national anthem. So let's dive into the bizarre history of O Canada. A tale of two solitudes woven over hundreds of years. To do that, we'll need to go back to the beginning, to a time before the riots in Montreal, before the decades of unrest in Quebec, before Confederation itself, to a time long before O Canada was written. This is Canadiana.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, okay, we'll do it. Sounds like a very interesting video.
This spot on the banks of the St. Lawrence River looked very different than it does today. That's Quebec City over there. But back then, it was a brand new town of just about 30 houses. Those first few French settlers had come a long, long way to start their new city. This land had been home to indigenous nations for thousands of years, but to the French, this was a strange and wild place on the very edge of their empire. Their first winter here, nearly all of the original settlers died. Surrounded by danger, they took comfort in the traditions they brought with them across the ocean. On a summer night in 1646, there were bonfires lit by the first governor of New France. A Jesuit missionary read prayers, and cannons were fired in honor of Saint John the Baptist, Saint Jean Baptiste. The French had been celebrating Saint Jean Baptiste Day for more than 1,000 years, but in Quebec, it would take on a unique importance. And without it, O-Canada wouldn't exist. But to understand why, it helps to fast forward 200 years and to head over there, into the city itself.
But the footage is really good,
By
like
the end
the
of the
editing.
1700s, Quebec City was home to thousands of people. The colony had been conquered by the British, and over the course of the 1800s, there were violent clashes between Anglophones and Francophones, rebels trying to
Like
overthrow
always,
Quebec's
like
British
today,
government.
you know.
Francophones were demonized by prejudiced conservatives. There were riots, gunfights,
Come
and
on, bro,
executions.
demonized.
Blood ran in the streets.
That's a strong word.
And when Quebec joined Confederation, many worried that French-Canadian culture was in more danger than ever before. Saint Jean Baptiste Day had become deeply political. One of the rebels even founded a Saint Jean Baptiste Society. 1880 was going to be an especially important year. The society was bringing Francophones together for the first ever National Congress of French Canadians. And to mark the special occasion, they were going to
Just join. What are we watching? The history of
To
Canada.
write it, they teamed the city's best musician,
Like the Anthem
up
of Canada,
with its
you
most
know,
prolific writer.
From a French perspective,
This
that is.
Calixa Lavallée, who wrote the music, and this is Sir Adolphe Basile Routier, who wrote the original French lyrics. Lavallée
So the
was
French
known
guys
as Canada's first
practically
national musician.
invented
But his
the
compositions
anthem,
had wowed
wrote.
audiences from New York to Paris. He'd even found himself fighting in the infamous Battle of Antietam, still the bloodiest day in American history. The man who wrote the music for O Canada was a veteran of the American Civil War.
Yeah, that's...
On the other side, you had Routier, the lyricist, who preferred to stay home and write poetry. Lavallée
The Battle
was
of
a liberal.
Antietam, all right.
When he wasn't busy writing music about butterflies, he was composing satirical operas about colonialism. Routier was a deeply religious...
Yeah, it is actually really interesting. I have the French subtitles. I can't really understand them, but there are some words that you can understand.
conservative. As a judge on Quebec's Supreme Court, he declared that it was perfectly fine for priests to tell their parishioners that if they didn't vote for the Conservatives, they would burn in hell. You can still find his religious views in O Canada.
Jesus
to this day.
Christ.
Just take a look at the lyrics he wrote. Canada is personified as a flower
Okay,
god
well.
holding a sword in one hand and a cross in the other. But the music of O Canada was an entirely different matter. Lavallée made his melody by taking bits and pieces from other tunes. For instance, from a popular French folk song called The Beautiful Snow. Vois-tu la neige qui brille?
We see the rise, true north, strong and free, from far and
More
wide.
importantly,
Hello, brother.
Lavallée took some of his melody from one of the most
Welcome
popular
back.
musical compositions of the time, Mozart's The Magic Flute.
Oh shit.
It was an opera that was famously critical of organized religions. The new anthem was a strange and controversial mix, both religious and secular, kind of the perfect soundtrack to a sacred holiday that was becoming more and more political. And so it was on this spot that O Canada was performed for the very first time, between the city's old stone walls and the brand new Parliament buildings just under construction. The Saint Jean Baptiste Society held their Saint Jean Baptiste Day event here in a hockey arena. It was a great day for French Canadian culture. But over the next 80 years, French-English tensions would be brought to a boiling point until this same holiday would be celebrated by throwing rocks at Pierre Trudeau.
Pierre-Elliott Trudeau.
Separatism was on the rise, demanding independence for the province. And to the separatists, Trudeau was a traitor, a francophone running for prime minister who believed in the idea of a united Canada. When he showed up at the Saint-Jean-Baptiste parade on the final night of his campaign, people were enraged. This was Quebec's day, a day to celebrate their own separate
Not
identity.
the
Voices
nasty
from crowd
union
chanted
with those
Trudeau to the
Canadians.
gallows, and it was no idle threat. That spring, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh.
had both been assassinated. In
True,
Quebec,
yeah.
separatists, terrorists had already carried out.
Yeah,
deadly
I think I'm glad he mentioned that because, of course, a lot of the issues in the United States, trespass to other nations. So those were rocky years, the years where Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were assassinated. So that could happen. Pierre-Elliott Trudeau could have been assassinated for sure. There were nasty times. But of course, we're talking about Canadians, okay? They're nice. These are nice people.
Campaigns.
Viva
But as
le
the
Québec
protesters began to
libre.
throw rocks and bottles, Trudeau didn't back down.
Didn't
While
back.
other
Wow.
dignitaries scattered, he refused to leave. They say that
Oh,
helped to
that's
win him.
badass.
Anglophones had been slow to trust him, but they loved to see Trudeau pissing off the separatists. The parade
The whole era
descended
was
into
shaggy,
chaos.
yeah.
Hundreds were
Absolutely.
arrested. Things only got worse from there. Two protesters, Paul Rose and Jacques Locteau, met for the first time that night in the back of a police van. They soon became leaders of the separatist FLQ terrorist group. Just 2 years after the big riot, Rose and Locteau helped to organize the October crisis. A British diplomat was kidnapped, a provincial cabinet minister was murdered, and Pierre Trudeau, now the prime minister,
Jesus
declared martial
Christ.
law.
How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that? Well, just watch me.
Huh. Just watch me.
The battle between separatism and federalism became one of the defining issues of Trudeau's time in office here in Ottawa. Faced with a
So similar to other places like Ireland, there was a terrorist group
a stronger sense of its
supporting
own
the
identity.
French
But more than 100
independence
years after
for Quebec.
Confederation, the country still didn't have its own national anthem. And in the century since O Canada had been commissioned for Saint-Jean-Baptiste Day, it had caught on with English-speaking Canadians too. It helped that the English lyrics were completely different from the original French. Practically the only thing the two versions have in
An interesting fact, Latin made from Proto-Greek, made from Mitanni language, which was made from Proto-Sanskrit, made from Proto-Indo-European. Well, I didn't know that, but hey, the more we
common
know.
are the words "O Canada." And when King George stood at attention
Some of
for
the
O
separate,
Canada during an
groups in
official
Spain, it's
event,
true.
it became a weird hybrid, a Quebecois anthem symbolically approved by the ruler of the British Empire. It was a song for those
The
believing
Queen.
in a multicultural society.
Dun, dun,
But getting it
dun.
approved by Parliament was still a pain in the ass. More than a
British
dozen times they tried.
Anglo-speaking
and
Queen.
every time they failed. As Trudeau pushed for O Canada, René Lévesque, the separatist premier of Quebec, made Saint-Jean-Baptiste Day the official national holiday of the province. As Trudeau fought for unity, Lévesque
He got
was
some
preparing a
beef.
referendum for Quebec to leave Canada. Everything came to a head on a spring day in 1980. All across Quebec, voters headed to the polls to decide whether or not they still wanted to be
And
Canadians.
they
When
said-
the results came in, the separatists had lost. Quebec would
Yes,
remain part
stay.
of Canada. Trudeau seized the opportunity.
Huge
It's here,
political
in
victory.
the
then.
Parliament buildings behind me, that the National Anthem Act was finally passed during the week of Saint-Jean-Baptiste Day in 1980. A week later, just a month after the failed referendum, Canadians gathered here on Parliament Hill to celebrate Canada Day. And the old anthem of Quebec's national holiday was performed as Canada's national anthem for the very first time. But that wasn't the end of the story.
Huh.
O Canada was born to be the soundtrack of Quebec nationalism, but Trudeau had transformed it into the anthem for the entire country. So Quebec needed a new song. This is where Paul Sauvé Arena used to stand in Montreal, and on that night in 1980, the night the referendum failed, René Lévesque was here. As it became clear the quest for independence had fallen short, at least for now, he stepped out on a stage in front of a disappointed crowd of more than 5,000 people. Some were crying, some were flying the fleur-de-lis. They gave him an emotional ovation that lasted more than 5 minutes. And then they started singing. It was a song called Jean du Pays, written by separatist folk singer Gilles Vigneault, who first performed it on Saint Jean-Baptiste Day. 100 years after O Canada was first performed, thousands of defiant voices were singing a new anthem. It was, Lévesque said,
I'm gonna cry. Don't cry, brother.
of his life.
Damn, that's intense. Wow. What the actual hell? All right. The title is a little clickbaity, the bizarre story of O Canada, but hey, it was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm gonna give it a like. That was awesome. Beautiful song. It sounds like a beautiful song, but I just don't understand the lyrics though. Languages are not a linear path. They branch out and receive other influence. The 1066 invasion of England, for example. That's why we share so many words with France. Maybe check out the channel Voices of the Past. That would be interesting. But we were gonna check out the what was the name of the World War One? The German veteran. It's this one. German World War One veteran describes killing a French soldier in a bayonet charge. Holy crap. And then, okay, Voices of the Past. Can we watch Politics with Paint? We could watch one video more. Maybe we can check this channel later, on a later stream, you know? I'm gonna be streaming more this next week. Yeah, I promise. I had yeah, that's the one about the German soldier. Okay, perfect.
One day we got orders to storm a French position. We got in, and my comrades fell right and left of me, but then I was
just a bayonet charge. Holy shit, that has to be scary as shit, dude. I mean, dying, being stabbed from a bayonet, that's obviously not a nice way to go, you know, not a nice way to go. News on the UAE. I have no news. I went to the interview in Miami, and I'm just waiting to get that phone call, you know, so fingers crossed. But yeah, I unfortunately don't have any news, you know, on that. But thank you for asking. I actually appreciate it. But yeah, let's... I'm gonna watch it from the start, just because I didn't listen to the first few seconds.
One day we got orders to storm a French position. We got in.
Oh, storm it.
My comrades fell right and left of me, but then I was confronted by a French corporal, he with his bayonet at the ready, and I with my bayonet at the ready.
Just imagine, let's you know, imagine ourselves, all right? You have a bayonet, all right? The other person has a bayonet. You know you have to kill them or they are going to kill you. And again, it's not a nice death. It's being stabbed by the bayonet. So holy shit, that has to be not a nice fight, you know? I mean, the adrenaline that you must feel has to be insane. Yeah, the German accent though. Yeah, I know,
For a
right?
moment, I felt the fear of death.
Yeah.
And in a fraction of a second, I realized that he was after my life exactly as I was after his. I was quicker than he was. I tossed his rifle away and I ran my bayonet through his chest. who fell, put his hand on the place where I had hit him, and then I thrust again.
Ugh.
Blood came out of his mouth, and he died. I felt physically ill.
Of
I
course.
nearly vomited. My knees were shaking, and I was, quite frankly, ashamed of myself. My comrades, I was a corporal there then, were up to...
He sounds kind of Alsatian. Can you tell? That's interesting, though. I obviously have no idea. Have a great night, day. Bye. Hello. Well, no, hello. Bye, Tarkub. Have a great night yourself. I imagine night. My great-great-grandfather was a soldier in World War I. He was injured by getting a bullet into the leg. My other great-grandfather was hit by a shrapnel in an artillery attack. Both luckily survived. Yeah, that must be amazing. They lived to tell the story. Alsatian are not German. Oh, here we go.
Absolutely undisturbed by what had happened. One of them boasted that he had killed a poor Lee with the butt of his rifle. Another one had strangled a captain, a French captain. A third one had hit somebody over the head with his spade.
Brutal ways of
They were
dying.
ordinary men like me. One of them was a tram conductor, another one a commercial traveler. Two were students, the rest were farm workers.
The rest
Ordinary
were
people who never would
farm
have thought to do
farm
any harm to
workers.
anyone. How did it come about that they were so cruel? I remembered then that we were told that the good soldier kills without thinking
Yeah,
of
back
his
then. Yeah, they do
adversary
speak German, though.
as a human being. The very moment he sees in him a fellow man, he is not a good soldier anymore. But I had in front of me the dead man, the dead French soldier, and how would I liked him to have raised his hand? I would have shaken his hand, and we would have been the best of friends, because he was nothing like me, but a poor boy who had to fight, who had to go in with the most cruel weapons against a man
Yeah.
who had nothing against him personally, who only wore the uniform of another nation, who spoke another language, but a man who had father and mother and a family perhaps. And so I felt. I woke up at night sometimes drenched in sweat because I saw the eyes of my fallen adversary, of the enemy, and I tried to convince myself what would have happened to me if I wouldn't have been quicker than he, what would have happened to me if I wouldn't have thrust my bayonet first into his belly.
Ooh.
What was it that we soldiers stabbed each other,
The
strangled each
horrors.
other, went for each other like mad dogs? What was it that we, who had nothing against them personally,
We're killing them,
fought with them to the very end and death? We were civilized people after all. But I felt that the culture we boasted so much about is only a very thin lacquer which chips off the very moment we come in contact with cruel things like real war. To fire at each other from a distance, to drop bombs is something impersonal. But to see each other's white in the eyes and then to run with a bayonet against a man, that was against my conception and against my inner feeling. Anything else?
Wow. Wow. Whew. Okay, well, there's a whole thing in the chat now about Alsatian against versus German. I mean, I guess it's sort of similar to the debate of Luxembourgish or German, but I don't know, guys. You settled that dispute. I'm not gonna get into it. But holy shit, the horrors that people like him have to go through, you know, I just can't imagine taking a life like that, sleeping at night, probably having nightmares, you know. And it was a well-researched thing that World War One and particularly World War Two soldiers suffered tremendously with PTSD. And well, not only that, like even today, veterans from the Iraq War suffer from PTSD and great anxiety, and like you can tell, like, so what a great video in the sense that, you know, his words were pretty beautiful. Also, I think he spoke English flawlessly. I mean, his vocabulary was amazing. Of course, he had a German accent, but it's still a pretty interesting thing. And yeah, you know, the horrors of World War One. Like one of you guys said, probably maybe for the individual soldier, World War One was maybe worst, right? Some of the first airstrikes in war, of course, chemical weapons were a thing. The trenches, the life in the trenches, probably was one of the, if not the most brutal aspects of World War One. You know, the trenches must have been a horrible and traumatic experience to be in. So yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing at all, though. Wait, what? The French used to be banned in school. Was it banned though? We do Geoguessr? Yeah, let's do some Geoguessr. Let's finish in a good note, you know. Let's finish in a positive note. What do we have here? Some comments. I pay for the premium just to play with you guys, so hey. I have a medal in the Mexico one, so, you know, not to brag about, but anything. Gonna leave now. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, Moral Hazard. Thanks for being here, and hopefully see you in the next stream, man. Thanks, appreciate it. Let's do the world, you know. Let's do a few games of Geoguessr, and we'll finish it off. I want to do streams like this, you know, that are... Okay, so this is Spanish, and this is probably Latin America. This doesn't look like Spain at all. So, could this be Mexico? But yeah, I want to do more streams like this that are a little bit more diverse. You know, like maybe we can do some reactions, and then maybe we can like play some Geoguessr. Maybe we can do some quizzes. I would love to do quizzes, you know, like for example, guessing the flags of the world, or guessing the countries in Africa, or this is a rough neighborhood, you know. Oh, I see a website. So .cl, I think that's Chile. So okay, let's do Chile. Let's say Santiago. Wow, nice. Holy crap. Okay, so this looks like... Okay, clearly a Cyrillic alphabet country. It doesn't look like... I mean, it looks kind of shitty, I'm not gonna lie. Could be Colombia, yeah. Why is it sad? It's sad to think that all the World War I generation are gone, and the World War II generation are not far behind. Only a few of them left. Yeah. Belarus, yeah, this could be Belarus. And yeah, you're right. It's kind of sad that in a few years we're gonna be out of World War II veterans. That's a sad thought. You know what? It could be Belarus. Damn, Belarus is rough, bro. This looks really rough. I mean, this is like a rough neighborhood. If you look at the number plates, they don't really look like EU number plates, and I don't think the European Union is like poor like this, so it could be Belarus, dude. Now you made me think. It looks cold and desolated, so it could... I'm really thinking about Belarus now. Belarus is on Geoguessr? The dog of Putin, yeah. Could be Serbia. Does it look like Serbia, though? I mean, it could It could be though. But I think it looks a little colder. I mean, look at this, bro. Like these are literally shacks. I don't think Serbia is that poor. I don't know. I haven't been to Serbia, but this just looks like really poor. You know, this looks like Mexico poor. You know. I don't speak Cyrillic, so I don't know. Okay, let's do Belarus. All right, let's do one for the boys. Let's say it's outside Minsk. Some's Bulgarian or Belarusian. Probably Bulgaria. I think Russia. Oh, dude. Oh, it was Kyrgyzstan. Shite. Well, bro, we were all wrong, bro. So, hey. Did you hear about a daughter of one of Putin's top propagandists got killed in a car bomb in Moscow? I did not. Holy shit. I mean, let's not forget that the war in Ukraine is still continuing. Okay, so this is definitely the USA. Probably California, though. Can we see the truck? It looks like California. Or Arizona, maybe? Nevada? It's definitely one of the... in the southwest of the U.S. It looks like a wealthy neighborhood, you know? Yeah, it's definitely the USA. This is not other country. And there was a sign over here. Indian Wells. Indian Wells. What is this? El Dorado Drive? It's crazy how big Moscow is for Europe. Florida? It could be Florida though, but no, I don't think it's Florida because you can see the mountains there. Florida is very flat, so it doesn't have any mountains. I'm thinking Southern California though. It looks too green to be Arizona. Maybe outside LA? I don't know. Let's keep looking, all right? So yeah, this is El Dorado Drive. But it's crazy that the war in Ukraine, it's still going, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. And it's just so sad because, again, there's no easy solution to the problem. Like, you know, you just can't send troops to Russia or Ukraine, right? Like, that's not going to be a thing. Russia is a nuclear power, so that's never going to be an option. But then you look at how people in Ukraine are suffering. I think there's like, what, 5 million refugees, Ukrainian refugees already? That's a lot. That's a shit ton of refugees. Like, it's a big problem. Do any of you guys that are living in Europe, have you known of like a refugee near your area? Gosh, I don't know, man. Big wheel, okay. So this is a truck, big wheel tours. Big wheel tours. What? Desert Country Club. Special forces are in Russia, but they denied it. Huh. I wonder how the UK feels about car bombing, given its history with Ireland. Oh, snap. Yeah, you know what? I think a few North Korea offered Russia 1,000 troops to help. The Bay Area. Really? You think it's the Bay Area? It doesn't look a little deserty for the Bay Area? It could be the Bay Area because of the mountains, you know? Oh, wait. Oh, no. Oh, shit. I thought this is a public transportation line, but I don't know if we can... Fuck, I can't read what it's saying. Sunline. Maybe Central California. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'm thinking California. So let's just say it's... Let's say it's close to... I mean, it could be... It could be close to Irvine, you know, one of these wealthier communities. Ah, Yes. All right, that's not too far though. So it was more Southern California, close to the desert though. Nice. That's cool though. That's good. NATO in general are pretty adamant about not supporting Ukraine taking the fight into Russia. We have BART trains in the Bay Area, so are central. There's many Ukrainians living in London, so you might see Ukrainian flags being flown around the country in support. That's nice, though. Okay, so this is Japan. Oh, Japan is always a hard one, dude. I hate Japan because I can never figure out where in Japan. So you know what? I'm just gonna go quickly and say like close to Tokyo, you know. Okay. Close to Hiroshima, actually. Hiroshima, wow. That's pretty cool. Hey, hello, man. You have a very complicated username, but hello. Okay, so, hey, Thomas, tell me this is not the UK, brother. Instantly, you can tell the architecture style. It just looks so British. Please, it's so random. UK for sure. Davenport Street. Ooh. All right. Okay. So yeah, it crashed. It crashed for a little bit. All right. It crashed for a little bit, but we're back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. You know, sometimes the internet in Mexico goes a little crazy, but hey, we're back. Not Scotland. I mean Northern England. All right. Looks very much like the town next to mine. Okay, so are we talking Central England? I think we can play it safe and go to Central England. I mean, could it be Scotland at any time? These houses look really beautiful. How expensive is a house like this? You know, they're small, you know, they're really small, but they look cozy. You know, like this is probably enough to live, I feel. And look, some old people in town hanging out and looking at the Google card. I've been something like that in Canada, but I'm still think it's the UK. Yeah, it's probably the UK. Actually, it's the UK because of the number plates. You can see they are yellow, and I think that's what number plates are all about. Wait, what is this guy doing? Yo, what a legend, dude! What a legend. First of all, he's wearing a T-shirt with a face on, and he's like, "Yep, congratulations, man! You have been immortalized in a stream by El Chapo." So hey. Northern UK, yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna go to Middle England, to the middle, and you know, let's say it's Leicester. Boom. Yo, not bad, not bad at all. So it was actually, so you guys were right. It was more like Northern England, a little bit close to like Manchester and Liverpool. So hey. That's close. So let's do another one. Let's do two more. Oh, let's do one more. It's been 2.5 hours. Let's do one more. No, just for the laughs and the gags. All right. So this looks like Japan. It is Japan. No, this looks like Switzerland actually. So this looks like one of those. So this could be Switzerland. This could be like Northern Italy. Let's look at the number plates. Italy. This is Northern Italy. You can see the letter I. Oh, well, this could be just an Italian car in Switzerland. Yeah, it looks like Switzerland, right? But the number plates are Italian. Yeah, the number plates, as you can see, they have that blue blur that make me think are from Italy. So maybe it's like close to the Swiss border. Look at this guy. Look at this. Oh, it's a woman having her own garden of things. I don't know. So can we go more? Maybe Slovenia. It could be Slovenia. No, I don't think it's Slovenia though. I think it's really close to the Swiss border. Oh, I can't go anymore here. Okay. So I can't read this thing, but I'm guessing it could be in Italy. In Italian, yeah, I agree. I have a question. When you're gonna react to the 2013 typhoon season? 413 fan, by the way. Oh, probably soon. I would need a video, but yeah, probably soon, man. Thanks for reminding me. I would do that reaction soon. Okay, so it's in Italian. Diretto il municipio, pizzeria al Nomo. All right, so this is Italian. Okay, so I think I feel pretty confident now that we are in northern Italy. Let's say around here. Okay, not bad. That was, we were a little bit far though. We were actually kind of close to Slovenia though, so. Austria, yeah, I was, me and Toaster, we say Slovenia. It was close to Slovenia though, but it was still in Italy. All right, so this is the USA. And this is more of a trashier neighborhood, you know? The last neighborhood we checked was more of a fancier neighborhood. This one is more trashy, you know? And I think this is New Mexico. If you can see the number plate is yellow, I think those number plates are from New Mexico. Okay, so for sale. Gosh, the quality on some of these maps is just really bad. This neighborhood is not very nice, though. Yeah, the quality of the maps is just not great. Detroit, LOL. No, I think it's New Mexico, dude. Let's go for it. Let's say outside. Let's say outside Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yo, okay, that's good. That's good, man. That's really good. Nice. Nice. Close to Walt's house. It reminds me of Breaking Bad. Bro. Damn, that was a good one. Okay, so Japan again. And, oh no. I mean, I've never seen China on this game. It's always Japan when it's an Asian country. And the writing doesn't look like Korean. So it most likely we are in Japan, in a rough Japanese neighborhood. It's interesting because the houses look kind of crappy, but there's a BMW. So, I don't know, you know? People like hanging their clothes, yeah. A lot of parts of Japan or South Korea are still pretty, like, not necessarily fully developed, though. A taxi cab driver lives here. I'm thinking Tokyo because, you know, the houses are just so small and cramped. Like, imagine living here, dude. That must be pretty harsh. I don't know. You would think that Japan is like, that's 100% China? Taiwan, maybe? Ah, that's not Tokyo. Okay. It could be Taiwan, though. Yeah, you guys are right. Could be Taiwan. I mean, the thing is, does Google Maps go to China? Damn, this is gonna be hard. It could be China or Taiwan. This is definitely a big city. So we have that for sure. But okay, there's Uber Eats. There's Uber Eats right here. Do American companies like Uber Eats function in China? A lot of them don't. Some of them, of course, do, obviously. Like, there's Apple in China. But does Uber Eats work in China? That's Mandarin, not Japanese. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not Tokyo or Cantonese. Northern China because of the weather. Huh. All right. We're not gonna guess the city because we don't speak the language, but sandwich panini. Should we go for northern China? I don't know. Let's watch a little bit more. Let's try to figure out where are we. Yamaha. It could very well be Taiwan, you know. There's a church over here. There's a church. We have a phone number. Ah, phone numbers are always good though. My joke is ruined. Or Thailand. Bro, I meant West Taiwan. This is hard. Yeah, this one is pretty complicated. Oof. Okay. Wait. It's Taiwan. It's Taipei. Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Perfect. It's New Taipei City. Yeah, it's Taiwan for sure. Taipei. There we go. There we go, baby. Just say boom. It's actually, let's say it's close to downtown. Nice. Good. Yes. Oh my God. I said it first. You knew? Yeah. Oh, that's good, bro. Okay, so this could be, well, first thought Africa, but this could be like someplace in the Caribbean. Maybe even someplace in South America, though. I don't know. It looks obviously very rough. Maybe even Mexico. I don't know. Definitely one of the worst parts of Mexico. Yeah, I don't think it's Africa. Okay, it's Latin America. There we go. We have some Spanish over here. And I don't think it's Mexico because I don't recognize that. Yeah, it's not Mexico because this is a political sign and I don't recognize these signs at all. So this is someplace in Latin America. Maybe the Dominican Republic. What do you guys think? If we see English, I'm guessing Haiti. Yeah, I know. This community is fun though. I know, right? You guys are awesome. I'm thinking Dominican Republic. Or it could be Central America. Whew, this one is complicated. All right. Okay. Etlancho. What is this? It's usually hard when you don't have a sign or... I mean, good thing we got that Spanish because probably I would also have said maybe the Philippines. This does look a lot like Southeast Asia. I'm thinking Central America now. You know, maybe Guatemala. What do you guys think? Guatemala could very well be. Okay, so there we go. More text. As you can see, it's still in Spanish. Fotocopias, impresiones. Oh. Pare. It's interesting how it says pare and not stop. My sister and I are thinking Honduras. It could very well be Honduras, you know. Nicaragua, I said it, remember. Okay, you know what? Fuck it. One of you is correct, I'm thinking. So it's Honduras or Nicaragua. Let's actually do one close to both. You know, let's just say it's around. Okay, I'm gonna go for Honduras. Bruh. Colombia. Shit. It was Colombia, bro. Yeah. Honduras was definitely the place to go. Yo, bro. I know, right? Okay, so we are in Scandinavia for sure. Could this be Iceland? Kafjordalen. Holness. I don't... It does look like Icelandic, doesn't it? Seems like Swedish. It could be very well Swedish. So there's a church. I love Nordic churches, you know? I love them. I don't know why. Oh, is this a flag? No, it's not. So at least we have the region, Scandinavia, but it's going to be hard to guess. Usually Denmark, I've realized that sometimes they have like flags. I think it's the country in Scandinavia that has the most flags. Oh. I think it's Norway, though. That does look like the flag of Norway, doesn't it? It does. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm thinking this is red and blue. Yeah, it does look like the Norway. Yeah. Sorry, man, for entering late. Nah, no problem, brother. I mean, we're already almost finished, but it's always, I'm always happy to have people here, you know, our community. So it's Norway. Where do they have a bunch of mountains? Do we have like a topographic map? Can we see the mountains? It's definitely not in Oslo. It's definitely more to like this part of Norway. Okay, let's do Bergen. Oh, no fucking way, dude. Shit, how am I supposed to know, brother? What is this town about? Yo, that's so not cool, bro. Well, hey, can you react to Typhoon Hygiene documentary? I actually have already seen that documentary. So, I mean, maybe you can watch in the channel. I don't know. Yeah, next stream. Yeah, actually, I think a lot of you are experiencing lag. So I think I'm just going to end the stream right now for good, you know, just in case something happens. So... guys, as always, it's a pleasure to stream. You know, it's always so fun. And sorry if I don't do it as much as I like, you know, because when something like this is not your job, it's sometimes just so hard to do. Really, it takes work to do videos and to do streams. And when you, on top of that, you have to go to the gym, you have to work, you have other life responsibilities. You don't really have a lot of free time. So when is the documentary ROP drop? I miss you too, man. Quebec, libre Quebec. Anyway, bye, Giga Chat. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video.